Hi, I'm Tassie and welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome home, and if you're a new subscriber, make yourself at home by clicking that subscribe button. And welcome to another installment of the What Happened To series. For those of you that are new to my channel, the What Happened To series is a series that I do on my channel where I cover people and things that were once really big in pop culture and had a really big impact, and as time went on, it just seemingly faded into the background. Today we'll be talking about the popular influencer that often goes by the stage name India Love, as well as India Love Westbrooks. If this sounds like a video that you're interested in, please stay tuned, subscribe to my channel for more, and feel free to check out all the other installments of the What Happened To series if you have any time. Now, before we get into the series, I do have to give a disclaimer. This video is for entertainment/educational purposes. Any people that are named in this video, they are named just for the sake of keeping the facts as accurate as possible. It is not to instigate or hype up a situation that has already happened. It's not to spread a narrative or to spread any misinformation. And there will be some sensitive topics that we will be covering in this video regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence as well. So just keep that in mind as you are viewing the video. Of course, I will give you a trigger warning before we get into those waters. But in case you want to see yourself out already, that's your cue. So now that we've gotten all of that out the way, please stay tuned and let's get straight into this video. So for starters, who exactly is India Love? India Love Westbrooks is one of the most identifiable social media influencers known even to this day. She gained popularity from the social media platform Tumblr for her style, hairstyles, and showcasing intimate moments of her life. She had such a huge impact that when she would join apps like Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat, an influx of people would follow her, growing her fan base even more. Her platform opened the door for her to have opportunities like various brand deals, modeling gigs, a reality TV show, and a brief moment as a music artist. She also had the privilege of being affiliated with plenty of celebrities such as Soulja Boy, the OMG Girls, Mindless Behavior, Jacob Lattimore, will.i.am, Lil Yachty, and many more. India Love was basically the poster child of social media fame and one of the pioneers of making social media influencing become a career choice. However, this once very visible influencer is practically invisible compared to the impact that she used to have. And with her longevity on the internet, her socials don't really reflect how impactful she really was. So that leads us to the question, what happened to India Love? And why don't we see that much of her anymore? Now, believe it or not, the first topic that we're going to be talking about, it was definitely an obstacle for the development of India Love's career, but it had a funny way of benefiting her and benefiting her family as well. So one of the biggest obstacles that India Love would face is getting consistently hacked and having her pictures used for catfish pages multiple times. And I do mean multiple. So for those that may not know, when I say that India Love was famous, I am not over exaggerating. There is not a single platform that you could go on in the early 2010s and not see India's face somewhere. I'm talking about Twitter, I'm talking about Instagram, I'm talking about Wattpad. I think there were even people trying to replicate her face and her outfits and her whole entire demeanor on sites like IMVU and Second Life. And if it wasn't her face, you would definitely see people trying to replicate her outfits, people trying to replicate her hairstyles. They would even copy a few of her poses that she would do. And I remember there was a trend where a lot of people tried to get eyebrows like her. Yeah. But not only were her looks the topic of discussion at this time, but it was also her fame. So during this time, it was a really weird period for social media. This was when a lot of people started to get their ground becoming social media famous, but back then it was just social media fame. There were no brand deals, there were no monetizations, there was pretty much nothing. You were just somebody who got a lot of likes and people just really liked your photos, and that was pretty much it. The only people that were really seeing a profit from their social media platforms were people that were already established businesses and brands. So obviously we had music artists, we had people that owned like boutiques, whether it was online or physically in store, fashion designers, hairstylists, you know, people that already kind of had some type of monetized value to their brand. Those were the people that we seen getting paid from social media, that had whole teams of people helping them with their social media presence. So a lot of people at this time obviously were using social media as a casual thing, but there were also people that were aspiring talents that wanted to hop on the social media train so that it could help get their brand out there a little bit quicker and a little bit better. hair. Again, something that already had monetization value. That's what people were really trying to push. That was really the only thing that people could think of as far as fame and going viral. By this point, nobody was out there getting paid for just simply existing besides people like Paris Hilton. But if you ask me, I know that a lot of people give her the credit for being like one of the first influencers. To me, I don't want to say that you're wrong, but I also feel like it's kind of sort of a stretch to even fully call her an influencer, because ultimately she was a Nepo baby. All of the stuff that she had, she already had it. It's just that she broadcasted it, and that's what essentially made her famous. But she wasn't really like an influencer. She was just a rich girl that was living a rich girl lifestyle and soaked in the privileges of it. But that's just, you know, me personally. I don't know. I wouldn't really say that she was the first influencer, but in layman's terms, yes, Paris Hilton was the first influencer. But when I think of like influencers, I'm thinking of people that have no nepotism, no like redeeming talents, people that are just regular everyday people like you and me. So in my personal opinion, I feel like India Love was technically one of the first influencers. She didn't have any music to promote. She didn't have any talents that she was trying to get out there. She wasn't selling us a product. She wasn't selling us a service. She quite literally was just a random girl in LA that was posting pictures on Tumblr, and that was it. And those very photos of her living her regular everyday life got her modeling gigs. That's why I feel like she's one of the first influencers, because I feel like that fits the criteria a little bit better than what Paris Hilton had. But again, all personal opinion, not a fact, so don't get mad. Not to mention that when it comes to the actual influence part of influencers, I have to say that, like, again, there were people that were replicating everything about this girl, from her hair to her outfits to her makeup to her eyebrows. Like, every single aspect of this woman's life, they were trying to get a piece of it. So yeah, with that led a lot of people to desperately want exactly what India had. And this is the reason why she would end up being consistently hacked and catfished online so much. Since the days of Tumblr, India has struggled with keeping her social media accounts secure. Back in her prime, social media was not as secure as it is now, where like now a lot of apps offer two-step authentication and the little codes that you might get sometime. So given it was way easier to hack somebody's page, but even in terms of what was happening back then, India literally got hacked so easy and so often. I think there's like a whole page that's dedicated to like different videos of India Love verifying her Tumblr account. Like it was really that bad.
Okay, so I'm making this quick video to tell everybody on Tumblr that this is my only Tumblr. It's verified India Love. It's the only Tumblr that I have. Every other Tumblr is fake. This is my only one. I keep deleting them and I keep coming back. But this is my only Tumblr. So yeah. Okay. Hi Facebook. I'm making this video for one reason, and that's because I have a lot of fake profiles, and I'm getting really mad that, like, some people just don't believe that I'm the real India or whatever. Well, I just want to let everybody know that I only have one Facebook, and it's this one, India Love Westbrooks. That's my real name. I don't have any other Facebook. They make fake of my sisters too, to make it look like they're real or whatever. But they're really not. And yeah, just know that I only have one Facebook and it's this one. I only have one Twitter, one Tumblr, one everything. Just hit me up if you want to know that. But I just have to prove to you guys that I only have one Facebook and it's one. Yeah. Okay, so I'm making this quick short video for all my followers that told me to make a proof video. I don't have Facebook. I only have a Twitter and a Tumblr. My real Twitter is @_IndiaLove, and my real Tumblr is verifiedindialove.tumblr.com. Every other account is a fake. I only run those two. And the only reason that there's a fake Twitter that has, it's capital O _ lowercase o India, and it has a proof picture, and that's because that used to be my old username and somebody faked it. So that's the only reason why it has proof picture, but it is a fake, and I'm gonna have one Twitter. So yeah.
And this consistent hacking would also lead to a lot of catfish pages being made and claiming that they were the real India Love. Because with all this hacking, who can really say if this is the real India Love or not? It was really hard to differentiate the real from the fake. Not to mention, nowadays, a lot of our favorite celebrities and social media stars have verification checks on their social media pages. So it's way easier to differentiate who's real and who's fake. But again, back in this time, being an influencer wasn't really a thing yet. So it wasn't really a priority for a lot of these social media platforms to try and verify certain people's accounts and make sure that you were talking to the real celebrities or not. So despite the fact that India was as famous as she was at such a young age, plus this was something that was definitely putting food on the table for her family, she did not receive a blue check for a majority of her career. So for those that may not know, the reason why we have verification checks on various social media platforms now is actually due to Kanye West. So back in 2009, Kanye would take to his personal blog on his personal website and pretty much write a lengthy rant to Twitter, dedicated to Twitter and the CEO of Twitter at the time, about how there were multiple accounts on the platform that were impersonating him. And unfortunately, we now don't have access to his website for various obvious reasons. So the only excerpt that I have of this rant is on the Rolling Stone, and it is posted here. So if need be, take this time to pause to read, or you can go down to the link that I provided below. But this rant of Kanye's also inspired a previous baseball player named Tony La Russa to actually go forward with suing the company Twitter because of the same situation. He had people that were trying to impersonate him on the social media platform as well, and they both felt as though the platform itself just wasn't really protecting these people's images. And after that, it was a few more celebrities that came out, but they're not really listed for whatever reason. But it was a few other celebrities that had came out about how they don't have Twitter accounts of their own, and yet they're seeing replicas of themselves constantly being on the platform, and Twitter is aware of these things and not doing anything about it. So later on that same summer, Twitter would go through the process of creating the verification check. And after the success of the verification check, that is when we started to see other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and many others start to implement the same verification check. Now, it's not clear if everybody just decided on being blue, but just thought that was a fun little fact that Twitter and Kanye are the reason why we have verification checks in the first place. Now, for obvious reasons, this put a hindrance on the development of India Love's career, but like I said before, it had a funny way of also benefiting her. So we're going to discuss that first, and then we're going to go into the part where it hindered her career. So not only did her getting hacked actually benefit India Love's brand as an individual, but it also kind of helped the brand of her and her family known as the Westbrooks. So in case you may not know, India Love is actually the 6th child out of 7 children. Yes, I said 7. So there's her older brother named Warren that often goes by the nickname Pop. By the time that India Love started to gain traction on social media, Pop wasn't really in the picture due to some situation that happened between him and his dad. But he's also been the type of person where he never really cared for the spotlight too much, unlike his other siblings. Brooke is the oldest sister, and she is essentially a very motherly figure to her siblings, as well as to her own biological children. And a lot of times, her children were the ones that were depicted along with a lot of India Love's photos and different videos that she would take back in the day, so her children low-key became a part of the brand as well. The third eldest is Morgan. Now, Morgan has always been known for being the tomboy. She has always had like this really rough, tough girl type of aesthetic. And in a way, Morgan actually did have a platform before majority of her other siblings, but it was more on the smaller side because it wasn't really social media based. It was more of like a niche community. But one of the biggest things that Morgan was really known for was how many tattoos that she had on her body. There were a lot of people that just loved the way those tattoos looked on her and loved to see what new ink she was going to get next. Next up is their sister Bree. Now Bree is also somebody where for the most part she doesn't really care to be the center of attention. She doesn't really care to be in the spotlight too much, but she does model as a plus size model from time to time. Crystal is the sibling that was born before India. And the thing about Crystal is that Crystal was very well known for her natural hair and her very modern day hippie aesthetic. And after India, there is her baby brother, Blake. Now Blake was pretty young during all of this going on, so he didn't really have much of a brand to show. He didn't really have much of a personality to push, so he was more so just the cute factor that was in the family. Now the reason why I'm introducing you to all these people is because India Love is a very family oriented person, and one of her claims to fame was her showcasing her life amongst her family, whether that was her mom, her dad, her nieces and nephews, and all of her siblings. And believe it or not, when India first started to go viral, it wasn't even India that was going viral. It was actually Blake. India Love would often dress Blake up in like very aesthetically pleasing outfits. She would then take pictures of him in like different locations of their house or like at a park, and then she would post them on her page and his videos would just go viral. Not to mention that part of the reason why India grew a fan base as well is because of her sister Crystal. So Crystal was actually an aspiring model during this time, and she already had a fan base on Tumblr. Once Crystal and India started taking pictures with each other, that led a lot of people to go on to India's page and start to follow her as well. Another thing that made India very appealing to the audience was that her and Crystal had a very close relationship, but they were practically sun and moon to each other. As I've stated, Crystal was a very hippy dippy type of girl. She was really earthy. She was really like just, you know, go with the flow, chill vibes. Whereas with India was more of like a streetwear type of girl. She liked to dip and dabble in makeup a lot. She experimented a lot with her hair, so she wasn't always wearing her curls or her afro. So with the vibe that both of them gave off, obviously they attracted two different audiences, but they also somewhat attracted the same audience because people just really loved how they fed off of each other, but also were extremely different. So the people loved the Westbrooks and were very dedicated to learning the dynamic of how that family operated amongst each other. And the best part about it was that it seemed like there was a sibling that could just relate to any girl that was out there at the time. So once it got to a point to where India was consistently getting hacked and catfished to the point where people just did not know who the real India was, they didn't know what page to follow, the people started to follow the siblings pages as well, just so they could go to the siblings and ask them, hey, is this India's real page? Hey, do you know if India's gonna be making a new page? Hey, do you know if India has a Facebook page, or am I talking to a catfish? And again, these hackings and the catfishing was so hectic and it was so frequent. This literally unintentionally gave her whole entire family a fan base. And with their fan bases being added, that also added on to India's fan base. And this really just added on to the whole appeal of India Love because, again, her face was everywhere, even on apps where she didn't really reside in. The people wanted to know the woman, the myth, the legend. And for her accounts to seemingly never be available and only certain people amongst her fan base knowing which ones were real and which ones were fake, that added on to the anticipation of being able to get to know and follow India Love. Not only that, it also helped people learn bits and pieces about India Love's personal life so that if there was a new page to pop up, they would be able to verify it by knowing fun facts about her, like her favorite color or the name of her dog, or who are all of her siblings, name them in the same order, what magazine has she posed for recently, stuff of that nature. It was just a fire that would build and build and build and build for the people because they wanted to know who is India Love and why do I see this girl face everywhere? So yeah, those were technically the benefits of her being hacked and catfished consistently. But like I said, obviously this was an obstacle that stood in her way. Reason being because since she kept getting hacked and since she kept having all these catfish accounts, she didn't really get the opportunity to really build a social media platform of her own.
I've been there and I know how violated Crystal feels. These sorry ass hackers are losers that have no lives. I've been hacked 15 times, had to start all the way over.
So due to all this hacking and catfishing, that didn't really allow India to build her platform on these platforms. As of today, India has 5.4 million followers on Instagram, which isn't bad. It's nothing to sneeze at. I know tons of people that are aspiring influencers that would kill for that. But when you really understand just how popular and how dominating India was just on the internet, not even just in the influencer space, but just on the internet in general, at a time where there were no influencers, she should definitely have way more followers than that. 100%, she should have way more followers than that. But when you actually sit down and do the math behind all of this, this is not a good reflection of just who India really was back in the day. Like, this does not even touch what this girl was capable of doing back in the 2010s. And let's be honest, people probably got tired of her getting hacked and catfished more than she did. So eventually that caused a lot of people to give up even trying to find her real pages as well. Because ultimately we're still going to see the picture, we're still going to see the video. And that's really what we came here for. So if it's going to get posted anyways, whether it's by a catfished account or not, do we really need to follow India at this point? So the next obstacle that India Love would face would be another obvious one, and that is unfortunately slut shaming. Now, if you've been on this channel for a minute, you already know anytime that we are talking about a successful woman, there's always going to be slut shaming around the corner. Like, it's inevitable at this point, and it sucks, but it happens. But this is the first time that I've mentioned it as its own category, because it quite literally is that bad. It is that horrible. So let's talk about it. So as we've stated, India was known for her physical appearance. That was something that made a lot of people very attracted to her because she was essentially racially ambiguous. In a way, her look was fairly unique. And of course, her body type was to kill for. She had big boobs, she had abs, like, it was just something about India that just made a lot of people just gawk at her. Many people found her attractive, which is obviously the reason why she was catfished so many times. And she would also be deemed as people's Woman Crush Wednesdays, Woman Crush Everydays, also known as WCW, WCE. And if you were a frequent Tumblr user, she would often be featured on blogs that were dedicated to attractive women. Like, there literally would just be blogs that would repost pictures of women that they thought were pretty. And that was it. She would be featured on a lot of those vlogs, a lot of them. And again, multiple modeling gigs were always available to her. But this would be proven to be one of the first hiccups in India's career, because a lot of these blogs that she was being posted on were obviously dedicated to more risque women or risque content, and a lot of the modeling opportunities that she would get would obviously try to showcase her physique a little bit more, as well as her face, because she's a very beautiful girl. But let's be honest, a lot of people were trying to highlight her physique. Like, that was what people were attracted to. But apparently, unbeknownst to majority of the internet, as well as these people that offered her these modeling gigs, they were unaware that India was in high school at this time. Now, I say allegedly because the thing about it is that, again, if you were a fan of India, you would know, but India never lied about her age, and there's actually plenty of content where she is clearly in high school. Like, there was never a point in time where she ever gave the impression that she was older than what she was. But it has been said, because you know I do my research, it has been said that a lot of people assume that India was older, not because she looks old, or not even necessarily because of her physical appearance, but because The fact that she was able to get so many brand deals and modeling gigs, people just assume like there's no way in hell that this girl has all this time to do this and she's still in school. So she has to be in her early 20s. Like, she has to be a legal adult. But honestly, I call BS on that. I call BS on that too. And I don't know if I'm being biased. I don't think I am. I try not to be. But I just call BS on that, because there are certain brands, obviously I'm not going to mention them, but there are certain brands where you could just tell, baby, they ain't care. They ain't care no way. Half of the blogs that she was being posted on, do you think that all of them had a moral compass? Do you think all of them weren't completely perverted? Let's be real. I feel like in the grand scheme of it all, maybe majority of people did not realize that she was as young as she was. She was about like, what, 15? Like 15, 16? I remember her turning 16. So like, she was probably even 14 at that time. But yeah, she was very young. Very, very young. I highly doubt that everyone, even the people that she has personally worked with, just assumed that this girl was in her 20s. Like, she's getting dropped off by her mom, by her older sisters. Like, let's be real. Y'all ain't care for real. Y'all didn't care. And this would be a problem for her that carried throughout her whole entire career. Brands would just look at her at face value and expect her to just do whatever. They felt like she wasn't too young for the jobs that she was doing, so whatever. And her physical attributes became so prominent to her career that there comes a point in time where she talks about wanting to get a breast reduction, and her own management advises her that it would be a bad idea because that essentially will cause her to damage her own brand.
I have a certain image of what I want to look like. I'm not a fan of huge tits. So I'm going to size them down just a bit.
I've seen it on blogs. It's your body, but I'd like you to explain to me what's your...
The explanation for it is that I don't like that my tits are huge.
Well, here's the thing. Like, in our first meeting, you mentioned that you have a following, but you say, when I put on a bathing suit, I get all these people that come and see me. Why do you think that?
Because I have huge tits.
And of course, parents being parents, her parents didn't approve of the operation or the insinuation of the operation because they felt like she essentially was saying that she hated her body.
So I'm 19 and my chest is just way too big. It makes my back hurt. You don't want my back to hurt starting from 19 all the way up until I'm in my 40s. My back is aching and my chest is hanging to the floor.
What are you not saying?
I want to get a breast reduction. It is affecting modeling. You know, a lot of campaigns and everything, they don't like girls with big giant titties, and it just makes it look sexy.
It sounds like you want a breast reduction because you want a model.
First of all, we got big titties from your side of the family, not
That's
mom's
Westbrooks
side.
trait. Thank you.
He's only 19 years old.
You-
It doesn't have to go there.
Okay.
It's really simple. You work out, do some bench pressing, firm your breasts up, or whatever it is you're trying to do.
Firming it is going to make it bigger.
No, it's going to shrink it down.
When did you have
What you
titties?
the breast expert? I mean, what do you...
No,
That's different. That's not... That's a chest. This is
Sorry,
breast.
that.
They're different.
Oh my God,
They're
look at
different.
it.
I understand where you're coming from
Thank
because,
you,
see,
Mom.
he's never had health issues to deal with in the first place. He's just offended because it's your breast.
Now that's just India as an individual, you know, things that she genuinely has no control over. People sexualized her at a very young age simply because they found her attractive, and that was pretty much it. But another reason why she gets a lot of slut shaming conversations is also because of the male company that she tends to keep. And this is also something that originated from her time in high school and her prime of becoming famous on the internet. So in high school, India dated a boy named Ron Robinson. And it just so happened that while she was becoming famous on the internet, Ron was actually being scouted by multiple different colleges for his abilities in football. So both of them were technically in the public eye and all over social media, but obviously for two completely different reasons. So once social media and different forms of media caught on to the fact that these two were together, they became the famous hashtag couples goals. And again, you could find these pictures everywhere. There were certain post pages that would have like the little text over it, and it would be pictures of her and Ron. It would just be, you know, relationship inspo. It would be the motivational quotes. They were just everywhere. Ron and India were just that couple, the it couple before there were YouTube couples, before anybody. And they stayed together all the way until senior year. Now, what happened senior year? They would eventually end up breaking up. Ron gets accepted to UCLA, and shortly after his acceptance, him and India break up. Yeah, the power couple went their separate ways. And this is the moment where the slut shaming became really, really, really heavy towards India. Now, according to India, the reason why they broke up is because Ron actually broke it off. He apparently told her that since he's going to be in college, he's going to be meeting all different types of girls, all different new people, so there really was no point in them staying together, so he just wanted to break up with her and get it out the way.
I'm very much a relationship person. If you guys didn't know, I was in like a full-blown high school sweetheart situation. I was with him my whole high school, years, and then we broke up when I was in 12th grade.
Damn.
But he broke up with me. He broke up with
I don't believe that.
What?
Hold on. I don't believe that. Come on. Hold on.
On everything I love. Let me tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened. I don't care.
Please.
I will tell you what happened.
What's his name, first of all?
Ron Robinson. Okay, I don't care. Shout out to Ron. He knows. I don't care. I don't care.
Okay, so what
we're
happened?
cool to this day, so I don't care. Whatever.
High school
sweetheart. Senior year. He gets to graduate early because he had all his credits and he's going to UCLA for football. Okay. So he graduated like yes.
Gotcha.
Okay. So he literally, and I mean literally, had a conversation with me where he said, "I'm going to college and
I'm be on."
Basically.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the words though. Let me tell you the words he used. Mind you, I was with him since the summer of 9th grade. So basically like since 9th grade. My whole until high school. So I take it very offensive that he did this to me because it was just crazy.
She got her chest out.
He said, I'm going to high school and there's going to be girls that want to do my, yes, I'm going to college and there's going to be girls that want to do my homework, that are going to do my laundry. And I would rather break up with you now so that I won't, have the temptation to cheat on you or anything of that sort. So I'm just letting you know here that it's done.
He said that to
He said that to me. No, it was a phone conversation. It was a phone conversation.
You got to do that over the phone.
No, it was a phone conversation.
You got to do.
But again, this was early days of social media, so there wasn't a PSA that needed to be put out there if people broke up. They would just break up, and 9 times out of 10, you would know they broke up because they would be beefing on the internet. But for years, people were just left with speculations, and majority of that speculation always went towards India. The first theory was that he was actually insecure and very jealous of India and her claim to fame. Because again, she had a few, pieces of content where it was a little risque for that day and age, and specifically the age that she was at that time. So it was said that Ron had apparently broken off with her because he was tired of dating an IG thought. Yeah, it was said that was the reason why he didn't want to talk to her anymore, because he didn't like the content that she was posting and he was very uncomfortable with it. But he was also very jealous of the fact that, she got all this attention on social media. But obviously, specifically the fact that she was getting so much media attention from men. But then the other theory is that they had broke up because Ron caught India cheating with the famous rapper Soulja Boy. Now listen, I'm not really sure how true this situation is because, honey, we ain't even get to the crazy part yet. But I will say that India and Soulja Boy have attested to the fact that they are just friends. They are in fact friends, but I have peeped that they have somewhat of a flirtatious vibe with each other. And there would also come a point in time where Lil Yachty and Soulja Boy would actually get into their own altercation with each other over India. And you would often see that Soulja Boy refers to her as my girl. So here's how I understand the situation to be. Basically, there came a point in time where Soulja Boy had posted a picture of him and India Love together. The picture that you see depicted right now, I'm not 100% sure if this is the picture in question that started the craziness. I really just pulled this from the internet. But basically, Soulja Boy had posted a picture of him and India Love together onto Instagram, and Lil Yachty somehow found Soulja Boy's number, whether he went through their management or whatever, and decided to text Soulja Boy and tell him that he had to take that picture down because him and India were allegedly together at some point. And this caused Soulja Boy to not only leak the text messages between them and basically tell Lil Yachty, like, don't come at me on behalf of, you know, a woman. But this also leads Soulja to make multiple posts showing admiration to India Love, as well as a bunch of follow-up videos of him basically just going clean off on Lil Yachty. So while they're going back and forth on social media, Soulja Boy would post this photo saying, "How this your girl when I've been rocking with her before you? How's she your girl and we've been rocking for years? If she's yours, post a pic with her. Oh, I forgot. You never even met her before. Love you always, Illy." And just in case anybody needs clarification, Illy was basically the little alias that India Love was using at this time. It was one of her usernames, and it was basically her initials, like India Love loves you, and it's spelled out Illy. I just wanted to include that. Soulja would then go on to release text messages between him and India, where he's basically inquiring about if Lil Yachty and India are actually together. So the text messages themselves read as India sending a text message saying, "Please stop." Soulja responds back saying, "Shaking my head, okay, that dude tried me though, love. This ish crazy. You really dating that dude? If you are, I'll stop. It is what it is. I respect you." And India responds back saying, "I don't date anyone." In the caption, Soulja Boy writes, "Never said me and India was dating. But Lil Yachty, I thought you said that was your shorty. Beefing over a girl that don't claim you. End yourself, homie. You a bozo." And now I will play the videos that Soulja Boy also posted to Instagram, as well as Lil Yachty's response after the fact.
Hey, everybody that keep on writing me talking about, man, Lil Yachty, he a fan of you, he look up to you. Man, I don't give a fuck, nigga. You shouldn't text me asking about no bitch, nigga. Fuck you talking about, nigga. You ain't never even met this bitch in your life, nigga. I've been rocking with this girl for years, my nigga. Don't never in your life, in your fucking life, write me and tell me to take a picture down of me and my girl, nigga. I'll slap the shit out you, nigga. Fuck Lil Bo. Alright, this is my last video for that bitch ass, ugly ass nigga Lil Bo. Boy, you black as hell, boy. You ugly as fuck. Your hair look like Twizzlers, boy. I snatch them fucking bees out your motherfucking head, you little bitch ass nigga. Nigga, I don't even fuck with you. Your music whack as fuck. You call my management telling me I need to meet Soulja. I met your bitch ass at my house. You was whack. I heard your song, One Night On, bro. That shit was lame as fuck, nigga. You was a groupie. You talking about, Soulja, I look up to you. I'm your biggest fan. But look, bro, when I see you, I'ma beat you, bro. On my mom. I'ma beat your motherfucking ass, bro. And tell QC to stop calling my fucking phone. Cause can't nobody save you from this shit, nigga. You shouldn't have texted my phone. You know you fucked up, nigga. Stop playing with me, nigga. Big Soulja, nigga. And I'm riding through Charette right now, nigga. Tell Lil Yachty to pull up on me. I'm gonna beat the shit out that nigga. Wherever you want to meet at, let me know, nigga. I'm on my way, nigga.
I know if y'all know what I'm talking about. Old ass nigga called Soulja Boy. I need everybody put their middle fingers in there right motherfucker.
Put the middle fingers up right now. That's like what? 10,000 people you say?
And then on the count of three, I want to hear fuck Soulja Boy. 1, 2, 3. Washed up old ass, dirty ass nigga. Don't nobody listen to Click That Soulja Boy no more. Suck my motherfucking.
And he also made a t-shirt. And that's it. So I don't know. I mean, we don't know these people. I tell y'all that all the time. We don't know these people personally. Do I think she cheated? Probably not. I want to have faith in my girl and say that she didn't cheat. but you know, I don't 100% believe that her and Soulja Boy never dated. I don't 100% believe that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't believe that. But anyways, moving on to the topic at hand. It seemed as though after India had broken off with Ron, the internet became very obsessed with who India was dating and who she was allegedly sleeping with. And since she attracted so much male attention, it was always assumed that whatever man she was hanging around at that time, she was in a relationship with him, or she at least, you know, slept with him in some variation. And with her being such a famous model, a famous Instagram girly at this time, there were plenty of men where they wore it as a badge of honor to be India Love's ex, or to be able to say that they, you know, canoodled with her or whatever. And obviously, majority of these men did not respect her, but I digress. Now, I'm not in the business of getting into other women's panties, so again, we don't know these people personally. Maybe she did sleep with these people, maybe she didn't. I don't know, nor do I care. But I also understand how certain men act when they are very insecure and egotistical. It is a possibility that some of these men that they have claimed they hit it once upon a time, they could be lying. They could. But again, we don't know that. It's not like I was in the room when it happened, you know. But I take allegations like that with a grain of salt, because we really don't know at this point, you know. But unfortunately, at this time, slut shaming was literally something that could be career ending during this time. So already being labeled a IG thought, and then being seen with multiple different men, and you know, you got this person and that person claiming that they know you, that they y'all stand me with you, that kind of gave India a really bad reputation during her come up. And to add insult to injury, there would come a point in time where her ex, Ron, yes, Ron, would link up with one of her other exes, the famous rapper The Game, and they would go on to share a video of them dapping each other up, laughing, talking about how they both smashed India.
Hey yo, chillin' with my little bro, man, we in here, man. It's called, if I fuck you or he fuck you, you fuck!
And it does not stop there, because it seems like shortly after this situation happened, India would then get exposed about 2 or 3 times. And because so many people found her so attractive, it went viral each and every time. Listen, the bar is low, but I'm at least thankful that she got exposed when she was an adult, because that just would have been all bad, you know. So I will give that. It sucks that I have to even give that, but I will definitely give you that. So if you couldn't tell by now, this was a hindrance on India's career, because all of the things that I just named, these happened before she was even 21. So again, she was a legal adult, but all of these things, all of these allegations, everything, it happened before the girl was even old enough to drink. Absolute madness. And as someone who is about to be 27 in March, I have to say that sometimes I look back on my life and I think of who I was between the ages of 18 to even 22, 23 years old. I feel like I didn't really feel like an adult until I was about 24, 25, okay? But literally, just thinking back to the girl that I used to be when I was 18 to 22 years of age. When I tell you, that is a baby. Again, legally an adult, but that's a baby. That is a child. And I can only imagine what it would feel like to break up with somebody that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with, have all these men, whether they were canoodling with you or not, they're in and out your life, run into social media to let the media know that, hey, I hit that IG thought that everybody's talking about, and then to have both of your exes team up and giggle about how they hit, and then you get exposed. And you don't get exposed once, you don't get exposed twice, but 3 times? That is just, that's that's a lot. You know, that's a lot. And it is really sad when you think about it in those perspectives. Like, I could only imagine what I would have done in those situations at that age. But let's also call this out too, because I know there's a lot of people that probably already put it in the comments already. Let's talk about the fact that when India was freshly 18 years old, this is when it would be known and outed to the public that her and the game were in a relationship. Now keep in mind, when India was 18 years old, the game was 34. And it had been said that apparently the game was good friends with somebody in the family, or like he had some type of close affiliation with the family. So that means that either they had been messing around, or this man had literally been waiting for her to turn 18 so that he could pounce. You know, that's just oddball behavior. I'm sorry. That's a little weird. It was. And the thing is that during this time, a lot of people were outraged about the situation. A lot of people did give commentary to the situation, especially because I believe this was also around a time where Kylie and Tyga were dating each other. And Kylie was like, what, 17, 16, 17? And I don't even know how old Tyga was, but he was a grown man. And wasn't he still dating Black China at the time? He had a baby on the way. It was ghetto. The 2010s was low-key ghetto, I can't lie. So yeah, many people were concerned, rightfully so. But again, we just live in a society that lives to slut shame women. So unfortunately, they still found a way to blame India for that whole entire debacle, that whole entire situation. But eventually they would break up, and India would definitely come to her senses and do a little bit of soul searching. And she would discover kind of the root of the problem with her and the men, and her provocativeness. So this is the part of the video where it's going to get tricky. So again, if you are sensitive to topics of child abuse, sexual assault, this is your time to jump ahead of the video. So we're going to start off tame. One of the problems that India had growing up, which she has stated multiple times, is that her and her dad never really had an emotional bond with each other. So he never really gave her the talk, and he never really put her onto game of how men behave and what she should expect out of a man in general.
You know, my dad didn't give me the talks that he was supposed to give me, so I blame him a lot for me feeling like I lived this fast life, and just, you know, I felt like I can make any and every decision on my own when, you know, he's working a lot, so he never really had the time to sit us down, all 5 girls at that, and tell us, you know, about, you know, how to carry ourselves as a young lady, how to not deal with certain guys. You know, I needed that from him, especially, you know, being a young woman, beautiful and all that. In this generation, it's hard to, you know, maneuver yourself not having that in your head. So
being that you didn't get that from your dad, where'd you learn that from?
Myself.
You had to teach yourself.
I had to teach myself.
So
and I feel like that's most effective, but I felt like it was maybe if somebody gave me a pre-warning of like, okay, this is what life consists of, you gotta be careful, I feel like I would have took a way more skeptical route, not being so free and open and bold and doing whatever.
So that's what you would have done differently.
I would have done differently. I would have been way more like, what's the word?
Conservative.
About my moves. Yeah, exactly.
But you would be a completely different person.
No, you think so?
I would call it stable, yes, but I started seeing the real of my parents' relationship. My dad is not affectionate, and my mom, she's the most affectionate mother, she's the most loving mother, she's like the full package. But I probably seen them kiss one time out of 2 years.
Do you feel in some ways, without being aware of it, that you may have imitated that or been drawn to men who are less showing with their feelings?
It does. When you said it, it kind of like just blew a really bright light bulb in my head. Actually, every relationship that I've been in, I'm always the one, the lover. I'm very, very affectionate. I'm very loving. I care. I give my all. And the guys don't give me much of anything.
A lot of times we imitate what we see. And so if you actually said, while there's some great traits about my father, I actually want to be with someone who's different from him.
Every girl wants a guy that, you know, oh, it's just like daddy. I want a guy that's just like my daddy. But I didn't even look at it that way at all.
And understand that this is a video about India, but I will say that that statement alone definitely reflects on her other siblings as well. I mean, starting off with the older brother, it's none of our business. Let's be clear, it's none of our business. But even with the discrepancy between the dad and their older brother, Pop, what exactly happened there to where your blood son didn't feel comfortable coming to family functions or coming home as often? Like, what happened there to where there was a problem, you know?
Hey, hi, Pops. Here. What are you doing here?
Workout.
Did you miss me?
Absolutely, always.
Pop is my big brother, and it's always the best surprise ever when he shows up because I never get to see him.
Hi, Pop. My brother Pop had a falling out with my dad a few years ago, and that really affected my family.
With Morgan having this super tough exterior, that definitely comes from that situation with their dad as well, especially because there is a moment in time where she does open up about being in a relationship that had lasted for like, what, 5 years? It was a really long time. And then after that, she stayed single for a really long time. Bree has always been insecure about being plus size. Crystal, she seems like she's pretty mellow, she's pretty chill, but for all we know, she could have some internalized issues that she just doesn't talk about. And ultimately, I feel like Brooke is probably the biggest example of the issues that they have with their father, because Brooke is a little bit more open with some of her situations. So Brooke would eventually take to YouTube and kind of let people in on her life a little bit, explaining and reflecting on the previous relationship that she had with her children's father. And she basically says how she owns up to the fact that it was toxic, and it was so toxic to the point where even her kids could see some of the drama that was coming its way.
I was in a relationship recently that I don't even want to go there. I'm sorry, crying. I was like very betrayed, very. I don't even want to talk about it. I ain't gonna go there. A situation happened to me where I was forced to like really do it myself. I always kind of leaned on whoever I was with or people that I loved to help me a lot. And when they left, when they betrayed me, when they kind of, gave me the cold shoulder, it was like, okay, pick yourself up. You got these kids, you can't sit in this. So I was just kind of forced to figuring it out. Oh yeah, they was there the day it went down, they was there when it happened. Very traumatic day, and it's crazy, like.
Supportive? I know they're younger, but were they kind of...
Very supportive, yeah. They're very supportive. My kids have a lot of empathy, just period, for people. I'm their mother, so, but yeah, I still have my days, but they're happy about it. They saw things I didn't see that I ignored to where, they were kind of glad when things happened the way it did. But again, I felt like I was forced, and then I was like down to nothing and had nobody. And that's what really kind of, it's sad to say, but that's what like really had me fully turn my life over to God. And just like, every step of the way, have him hold my hand with it, I didn't have a job, I was just like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna live? But by the grace of God, everything gets handled, everything is paid for. I don't have to do anything against my morals. In 2018, I fell really heavy into depression. In 2019, I literally was just floating. I was one of those girls who would wake up at 11 in the afternoon, good morning. I just didn't have no plan. I was depressed, I was overweight, I was just having kids. These relationships was just, every guy I was with, they just lie. I felt like I got bamboozled every time. They would come to me being one way, and then, you know, halfway through the relationship, by the time the kid came, it was a whole nother person I'm dealing with. And I just literally learned to like pick myself up. I fully turned my life over to God, and everything I do, I involve him and pray with him with it.
And during their reality show, you got to see exactly what she was referring to and what she was talking about, because their reality show definitely showcased the dynamic between her children's father and her, and you start to learn a lot about some of the issues that they were having between each other.
There's something that I need you to do with me and for me. Me and the girls are having to attend a celebrity charity basketball game. All the family's gonna be there. Mom, Dad.
Am I invited, or are you just, you want me there?
Everybody's invited, and I want you there, so I don't get it. What you mean? Very important for Alan to attend this game with me and the kids, because over the years he's been away a lot due to him being incarcerated, in and out of the kids' life. Alan and my father don't get along. They have a lot of issues. My dad never even really tried to get to know him other than what he knows of him. But right now, Alan needs to just get over it.
I'm not going.
Why would you not go though?
Nobody likes me. They don't want me over there.
Yeah, you did a lot of up shit before.
I have.
And you gave them something to talk about. So now that you're a different person and you're doing things different in life, why not show that? That's all I'm saying.
I want to show you that I could be a different person.
Okay, but I would like for them to see that new person that I have.
See it, and cool. But I'm not here to show them.
If I ask you to go somewhere and attend some place with me and the kids, it should automatically be a yes.
I might rock with you.
So that's a yes.
I might.
So, Brooke, when we went to the basketball game, you know, Devon came over to me, shook my hand, and I was just curious why Alan didn't come over and speak to me.
I seen you. I was watching you because y'all always make it a point to say something about Alan. When Devon walked up the stands, you got up, you put your hand out, gave him a hand, a little hug, how you doing? Alan comes, you in your Morpheus mode with your glasses like Terminator.
So you're saying I did it?
I feel like you guys don't even acknowledge him.
I'm 50 years old, and I'm Brooke's father. Out of respect, he needs to speak first. When Alan came, I'm looking at Alan. Alan, man, he brought everywhere but me. And I'm like thinking, okay.
It's always something with you.
No, I'm just being honest. I would talk just like I've taught you. Always be respectful.
But a lot of the stuff that y'all pick at is really petty, and it's like a waste of time.
You wouldn't want him to speak to your father or
No,
your
I
mother?
would. But I saw you
What if he did that to your mother? Would that bother you?
He didn't, but yeah, it bothers me when y'all don't speak. He messed up so bad in the past that he feels like y'all still hold on to that, which you do. But if I forgave him and I'm still dealing with and working with him, if y'all love me that much, you guys would do the same thing for me.
Brooke is a lot tougher than this, but since Alan's been around, she's gotten a lot softer, so I need to just bring her back around. When Alan was locked up, you used to go hard. You were like, it was no distractions for you. It was just your kids, your job, and everything that you needed. You used to work. And then when he came out, you just switched your direction to him.
I'm so tired of y'all putting Alan. Like, he's always the reason that I don't do this or I'm not doing that or I'm not. That's bullshit. Like, I wish y'all would stop doing that. Alan cannot. Y'all don't know how much it takes to run a business by yourself.
Ooh,
I
got my own business.
Yeah, but your business is not this. He's not a distraction. I just wish I would just leave Alan out of everything. Like, it's my life and my decisions.
And
like,
Alan has a big part of it.
I'm not a fool. Like, I'm with him because I want to be with him. If I didn't want to be with him, I'm not going to be with him. It's getting to a point now that if y'all don't chill, I'm not going to come around. I'm just going to, like, push myself away. Okay?
Just wanted to give you my opinion of what I see is going on, you know. That's it.
You can't talk? What's wrong?
I don't want to,
You got
like,
an
have
attitude?
this conversation. I don't.
Why?
Because
You might as well have a conversation.
you really get on my nerves sometimes. Like, when people say you work my nerves, like, it's beyond working my nerves. So
You irritated with the wrong person, man.
No, I'm irritated
You
with
should
all
be
you guys.
irritated with your bullshit ass family, man.
What you say?
You should be irritated with your bullshit ass family.
Why they gotta be bullshit family?
Because they are. They
You're just like
disrespect
an
you, they
ungrateful
disrespect your kids, and you just want to be happy with your living and all that. Now you want to walk back home. You want to stay in that motherfucker for the rest of your life and let everybody disrespect you.
You see this shit? See what shit?
Bree, why you always cursing? What the?
Dad, come
What?
see this shit.
What you talking about?
Are you kidding me? Dad, come look. Mom, come look. Is this real?
Look at this.
Why weren't we there? Wow.
Okay, so ring. So what? What do you mean?
Alan posted Brooks' finger on Instagram and said, "A did it again." And she said, "Yeah."
Well, Daddy's saying no. You don't get to marry one of my daughters unless you ask. I don't remember Alan asking me anything. That's not gonna happen.
Right?
When was this? Why weren't we there?
What is he talking about the engagement if he's talking about we got a ass family?
Our ass family that he lives under every day. He asked me, "Can I buy him some shoes?" But we're a ass family.
Drive our cars,
But we're bullshit.
feed his ass,
But we're bullshit.
holler back.
Ooh. Alan wonders why we don't like him. He doesn't even provide for his family. Who's gonna like that?
Why couldn't you just call me so I can be happy for you, so I can
Brooke don't want you to
ask?
know. Brooke don't want none of us to know because she knows we don't like his ass.
She's been stuck with him since she's 15. So she feels like she's obligated to be with him because he is the father of her kids. But she's not obligated to be with him because he doesn't provide for nobody, not even his own self.
He's a grown-ass man. You think he'll keep living up under us, our ass family?
Mm-hmm.
He's a ass. He always in her ear, you know what I'm saying?
So you got it against you when you first step up there. You already got the odds against you with them.
Yeah.
How long have you been knowing Pop? Since you've been knowing Brooke?
Yeah.
He's never liked you at all from day one?
Man, he seen the book and didn't even read it.
Were you gangbanging?
Yeah.
So you've been in jail for a minute.
Yeah.
What's the most time you do?
4 years.
You did 4 years straight?
Well, I'll say 2 in the county, 2 in prison.
Well, what was that for?
For a domestic case.
Domestic case?
Yeah.
Beating up a lady?
Nah, I didn't do nothing to nobody.
That's what you got
It was
charged
a
for?
misunderstanding, yeah.
Domestic violence?
Yeah.
Was that with Brooke?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I don't want to talk about what happened that night ever. I have 3 kids with this man. What's done is done, and I'm here trying to move on.
He's a very charming person, but in my opinion, his mind is not family oriented. This got out a year ago, right? Brother picked him up, didn't have nothing with me and the kids. He came around like maybe 5 months after he got out.
I'm getting myself together, and
What
why
have
would
you
I
got
come home to a
together?
woman?
I don't know anybody in their right mind as a parent who don't care to see their kids. Like, so all that, I'm trying to get
You
myself
took me away
together.
from my
That's
kids.
bullshit. You took yourself away from
You
your
took
kids.
me away from my kids from
I
being
can't
with
have
another
this
woman.
conversation. I can't have this conversation.
Alan never wants to admit to any of his faults. It's like he doesn't even hear me.
I've kind of been like a single parent in the sense that when it comes to clothes and food and providing, I've always been that. He's never had a job since I met him. So for you to sit here and
never
say,
put shoes on my kids.
Wow.
you probably bought him some shit. I'm saying when
They
it
wouldn't
comes
look fresh
to
if
being
I wasn't
the provider,
around.
that's me. I've always been that.
Man,
You never helped or even cared where the I was sleeping.
I
I'm
was
saying
in
that because I
prison.
done called you plenty of times. Like, I need help.
Why
I need
would
some
you be
money.
calling
I don't
me
have
for
nowhere to
help,
go
like I
tonight. Me and
said?
the kids don't got nowhere to
okay,
go.
listen. I'm in prison.
Look,
Why would I take care of you to have
he
some
got
other man
every
somewhere with my
excuse in
kids?
the world. Because half the shit that he think up here wasn't even to get out. It wasn't even going. So, you say a lot, but you don't realize what you're doing to me.
So
like,
when it
mentally,
comes
like,
down to it, I was in prison.
different. You weren't
I
in
had
prison
nothing to-
when I was doing that. You
I
were
had
not in
nothing to
prison.
do.
You
You
got
were
out
sitting
of
in the
prison
room.
and did not with me or your kids for,
And you
for
had
6
just
months.
moved in your sister's
For
house.
6 months. What we doing right now, like, it's old to me. It's played out. Like,
Yeah, but
I need you
I
to
kinda understand.
take the initiative, or I'm like, I've been doing it by myself, so it's like, there's no point.
You're at the fork in the road, Alan. It's time for you to be a father and a mentor to your boys. You don't want them to see you as a hustler, a pimp, a player. You want them to see you as a father who loves his mama. So hear what she's saying. And don't always put up a defense mechanism because she's coming from the heart. Just say, baby, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna do better.
I'm gonna do better, man. I've been doing that, and I've been showing it. If you're blind, I hope you open up and see it, or I'm gonna shine a little more for you. But I'm gonna make it happen for you. On my pace, though. I ain't rocking nobody else's pace. I love you. All right?
I don't really know if I can believe this man. He's told me these things a lot in the past, and it seems like nothing really ever changes.
If he's not saying what you need to hear and believe what he's saying, then that shows that you don't trust him. And you can't build any house if the foundation is made of sand. Maybe you guys grew apart. Maybe you want to go somewhere he's not willing to go. And if you're not trusting him, break the relationship off.
Not only that, it is also depicted in the reality show that apparently the marriage between India's mom and dad is not all that it's cracked up to be. They definitely have their issues. They definitely struggled at one point in time with their marriage and staying committed to each other.
Do you think he's worthy of marrying Bree?
Yes.
I don't know. Your judgment is just...
My judgment is fine. I picked you, right?
Again, he has no job. He's saying he's promotion of a club or whatever the hell. You know, show me a check. Show me a house and see where it goes.
I don't remember Dad doing that with you, though.
He didn't have to, because I made sure everything was solid.
Warren's a good man, but he has a way of forgetting the things that we've gone through.
When we got married, we didn't have a ring. We stayed at Mom and Dad's house for, 7 years till we saved up for a house?
Yeah, but I made money.
They helped you while
So I
you're
can
getting
save
yourself
up to
together
get
and
a
save up.
house.
Yeah, but they supported you. They supported us getting married.
You're talking about
You lived there.
30-something years ago.
What does that mean?
It bothers me that my wife brings up my past. It's about Devon, not me.
I started seeing the real of my parents' relationship. My dad is not affectionate. And my mom, she's the most affectionate mother. She's the most loving mother. She's like the full package. But I probably seen them kiss one time out of 2 years. I pray for my parents. I pray that their relationship and that their marriage stays strong forever and that they can work everything out. Amen.
Amen.
But one thing that I also just like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable simply because I can relate to this part of the video a little bit more. When I was doing my research and I'm looking at like different interviews as well as watching the reality show, one of the things that the siblings say a lot is how good of a woman their mom was to their dad. And as the oldest girl, I'm the oldest sibling, period. I know that that's cold. I know what that is. And again, I'm not insinuating that anybody is the villain. I'm not saying that their dad is a bad person. I'm not saying that, you know, we should cancel their dad. No, none of that. But I know what it means, especially coming from a woman. I know what it means when you reiterate over and over and over and over again that your mom was a good woman. Because I don't want to say that it's a backhand compliment, because it's not necessarily backhand, but it is definitely commentary that has way more layers than what you see on the surface. Something was going on. Something was happening. Something back in the day happened, and the mom decided to stay. And the kids know about it. That's really all I'm gonna say. The kids are aware of it, specifically the female children. They are aware of it. And that's why every time they speak on their parents' marriage and they speak on their mother, one of the things you're going to notice is how they keep reiterating, she was a good woman, she was a good woman, she was a good woman. Because she went through something. She experienced something. And she stayed with the man that she experienced it with.
I see you so much greater than what you're actually able to demonstrate to everybody. Maybe because of the relationship you've been in, you don't understand your own worth. You don't see it and maybe you underestimate even yourself. I feel like I'm looking into a mirror years ago. Because when you and Alan get into it, I almost feel like part of the young woman that you're becoming is because you've had me as an example. I feel like you girls deserve the world. I know what you guys are worth. I feel like you guys are like diamonds in the rough. And then when I see that there's someone around so close, so special in your life that you feel like it's okay to tolerate, it's okay to put up with, I know you guys got that from me. My thing was like you, I'm just going to keep on being a good woman and be a wife, be a good whatever. But at some point, Brooke, you've got to love yourself just a little bit more than you love that man. Trust me.
That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna touch on. And now we have to move on. And now we're gonna go back to India. And India is the part where your heart's just gonna rip out of your chest at this point. India would go on to star in the reality show College Hills Celebrity Edition. And during that TV show, she would actually disclose to a counselor on the campus that when she was fairly young, there was a family member that touched her inappropriately, and she felt like her family silenced her and didn't care.
Like, I feel like I found my voice in a sense, but it's hard for me to use it because of like trauma when I was younger, probably like when I was 10 or so, around that age. But like something happened to me with a family member to where like I felt like I couldn't use my voice and say what I wanted to say. I used to get touched by someone in my family when I was younger, and it felt like it was swept under the rug, and it definitely scarred me mentally for a long time, probably to this day. So, yeah. I feel like from then, it's been a struggle for me to speak up in any situation because I don't know how to be heard. Mm-hmm. So it's, you were silenced. I was silenced.
Victims of assault will sometimes express hypersexuality, so that does to a degree explain a lot of what we had seen of India over the years. So we're not 100% shocked that this happened, but the part that I was a little shocked about was the part where she said that she felt like nobody cared and nobody helped her. That's the part that threw me off. So yeah. Ultimately, slut shaming definitely had a severe effect on India Love's career, and unfortunately, it still plagues her to this day.
Can I talk to you, India, really quick? I'm gonna ask you a question because this is girl talk and this is what we're doing. The Game and Justin Combs. I just want to know one question: who's the better kisser?
Excuse me?
Who's a better kisser?
Justin Combs. Justin Combs was the homie.
Okay, there's rumors that you guys were dating, so.
Oh, we cool. We was cool. I mean,
there's a smile creeping up on your face right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't put him in the same category. I dated that one for almost a year. And the other one, we was just cool. We was filling each other out. We just wanted to see where it went, and it didn't end up in a relationship. So
you never kissed him?
I didn't say all that.
See, that's what I'm saying. I just want to know who was the better kisser. That's it.
I mean, I don't really like to talk like that.
Okay, well, I asked.
They both cool. I mean, shoot.
So we're gonna do side plank. So it's good for your core and then for your hips as well. Okay, so I want to ask you about the sex tape.
I don't answer those questions.
You don't want to talk about it? Okay. Some dating questions?
No.
DMs?
I stopped reading my DMs when it started getting full of like pictures of body parts.
Yeah, I bet you got a lot of that.
That's where I stopped it.
Especially over you, India, having a relationship with a high-profile rapper. We're not going to say his name. How did you handle that? Like, what was the challenge of that relationship?
That's just not something that I just talk about, so I'm just keep it there. So I was a young woman when a lot of headlines about me that have happened when I was like 17, 18, as I was in my young teens, I would say. Right. Now that I'm 22, I honestly only can say, I look back and reflect on my mistakes. I know what I've done wrong. I'm not, perfect. I know nobody's perfect. And I don't know. I just feel like I was dating around. There's a lot of things about me dating a lot of people here and there. You know, I'm just like any young woman would off the platform of being somebody in this world. You know, I'm dating around trying to see who.
So I don't know where the little puff to my microphone went, so I apologize if the audio isn't pristine as it usually is. But I had to come on here for a quick little second, as I usually do, and just talk about this situation that I remember that happened between technically India Love, Crystal, Jacob Lattimore, and Shamra, who is Beja from the OMG Girls mom. Now, before I get into this, let me just give another disclaimer that these videos are for entertainment / educational purposes. These are not meant to be messy, to spread gossip and rumors. This is not meant to create like a witch hunt or to make other people want to dogpile on top of other people. Like, this is not the type of situation that I do on my channel, and this is not the reasoning as to why I am coming to you right now. But I definitely wanted to talk about this situation before I completely closed out this segment, and I know that this segment is already super duper long. I apologize for that, but I really do feel like it's important to point a lot of these things out because it's very relevant, and this situation in particular I feel like is a prime example of everything that I just covered. So the year was 2015. This was like the summer of 2015. There came a point in time, it was some event, I don't even know the event, child, but there was some event apparently where Crystal, India, and Jacob Lattimore happened to be at the same event. I don't know who asked for a picture, who did what. I'm not 1000% sure, but basically they all three took a photo together, right? They all took a photo together, and later down the line there came a point in time where the pictures got posted. I don't remember who posted it. I feel like maybe Jacob posted the photo because this was a long time ago, y'all. This was a long time ago, so I might not be completely, here with it. But I believe this was around a time where India still was trying to get her Instagram back, or she was in the process of making her Instagram or something of that nature, something like that. And this photo was posted by Jacob, I believe. So the original photo with the three of them in it, Jacob is the one that posted the photo. Later on down the line, later on in that same day, her sister Crystal would post essentially the same photo, but she cropped Jacob out of the photo. And I have, I always have the tea. I've always had the evidence. So the caption reads, "So I totally cropped a gentleman out of this pic, but I just wanted me and my sister. Tagged India and said, my bad, just a sister thing." So now I remember this was during a time where India was getting her Instagram back. So I think this was when she had just made the Instagram. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. But either way, I still don't remember who posted the original photo, but I digress, right? So that was posted by Crystal, and obviously certain people had some words. They had opinions about why she chose to do that, because at the end of the day, if you wanted a picture with just you and your sister, why not just take a picture with you and your sister? In a way, it definitely came off shady. It definitely came off really weird. And like I said, one of them posted the original photo, and I feel like it was Jacob, but I really could be wrong. I really do not remember, y'all. But either way it goes, everyone already saw the original photo. You doing that, it did kind of make it look a little shady, and it did kind of make it look like almost like it was fan behavior on Jacob's part. So, like people weren't feeling that. People weren't really, it just wasn't that. Now listen, I love me some Jacob Lattimore. That's like my cousin. If you ask me, that's like my cousin that, we just ain't met yet. But from what I understand about who Jacob is as a person, he's not really the type that dwells in negativity and gossip and stuff like that. So when this whole situation was going on, I don't recall him expressing any grievances behind it. I don't recall him really being upset about it, but you know, things happen behind the scenes, certain conversations happen behind the scenes, so we don't know. But either way it goes, there was not a single peep from Jacob himself about this photo fiasco, about this photo situation. However, Shamra, again, Shamra is the mother of Beja, also known as Beauty from the OMG Girls. Shamra would take it upon herself to tweet and say that gentleman was Jacob Lattimore, but she knew that already, considering her sister has been through most of his friends. Oops, hashtag not sorry. And obviously this started something, right? Obviously this started a commotion because number one, where you come from, like that's just number one. Number two, during this time period, I believe this was when India was like what, turning 19, or she had just turned 19, or maybe she had just turned 18, but either way, she was still young, right? So in a way, it's like you kind of too old to even be a part of this conversation. Like, you ain't even supposed to, you know, like, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. But I already made a video about, you know, the OMG girls. We already know that this is Beja behavior. So the apple don't fall too far from the tree. You feel me? This is something that Beja would have done. But during this time, I think she was turning over a new leaf, so she wasn't trying to be funny. She wasn't trying to troll nobody. She wasn't doing too much. Okay? But this woman basically decided to come to the defense of Jacob because that's like, you know, her play nephew or whatever the case may be. So she decided to say that. And of course, because since you felt the need to defend your people, Crystal felt the need to defend herself as well as her people, because why wouldn't you? You know, like why wouldn't you do that? So Crystal responds back and she says, "Shamrock, who are you? LOL, keep the love, baby girl. Peace and happiness." And this would prompt for Beja and her sister Lourdes, also known as Lolo, who was one of the original founders of the OMG Girls. Beja would go on to post, "Rare pic of me trying to figure out who these bitches really think they are." And she follows it up with saying, "Don't let these followers get to your head." And then Lourdes would actually make a tweet and delete, and she says, hashtag don't come for mine. So Crystal responds back, "Sorry, I'm poor. I can't afford to pay attention." And after this whole fiasco, we finally hear from Jacob. And Jacob's response is, "Love you at Shamra Star." And then he makes a separate tweet saying, "Appreciate y'all," basically referring to Shamra, Beja, Lolo, as well as people that are very big fans of him that were also defending him in, you know, Crystal's comments. Now here is the reason why I'm bringing this up and why I'm even giving this attention to begin with. First of all, the irony of how all of this even is playing out. I already made a video of the OMG Girls. We've already established this. We've already had this discussion, right? And again, it's been a while, so I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. If my memory serves me correct, this was during the height of people calling the OMG Girls hoes. This was during like that time. It was before they officially disbanded. But this was also, I think, before they had officially like parted ways and went solo. I could be wrong, but either way it goes, the OMG Girls had their fair share of slut shaming. Beja in particular was accused of homie hopping. People thought she dated every single member of Mindless Behavior, also thought she was dating Jacob, also thought she was dating Little Twist, also thought that she was dating, I didn't forget his name. Moral of the story is, Beja had accusations of her own of going from person to person in the industry, at least within the teeny bopper teenager industry, okay? At this time as well, and again, I don't do this to be shady, I don't do this to be messy, but I remember at this time as well, there was like, I think ATL Confessions was still up and running, or maybe it was a separate confession page, but there were rumors that Lolo, her sister, Lourdes, there were rumors that she had a STD, or like she had herpes, or something like that. Something of that nature. My thing is this, with you knowing that your daughters are experiencing similar treatment to this, why did you feel comfortable doing that to someone else's daughter? Because had it had been either one of them, we would never hear the end of it. It would be World War 3000. Why on earth did we take this route and decide to say something like that in the first place? That's wild. You know, it's wild, it's immature. And then the part that I could never wrap my head around was that I don't feel like any of this was warranted, to be honest, over a photo because somebody got cropped out. I don't think it was that serious. But I also know how the industry works, and like I said, it might be some things behind the scenes that we don't know about. But either way it go, this did not warrant this. It just didn't. Over a photo, no. But the part that killed me, that I still don't understand to this day, is that at the end of the day, Crystal is the one that cropped him out. Crystal is the one that posted the photo. Why did India catch a stray in this whole entire situation? But that just goes to show exactly what I'm talking about, though. Unfortunately, it was somewhat of her brand at this point. Like, people just felt comfortable talking about her sexuality, talking about who she was as an individual, and like what she apparently may or may not have done in the past. Like, it was just a thing that people were doing, and it was wild. It was just wild. Like, and again, she was like 18, 19 at this time. The Westbrooks reality show did not drop yet. This was still very early on. Like, that was so unnecessary. It was genuinely very unnecessary. Like, we did not have to do any of this at all. Like, but that's how comfortable people felt when it came to India. That is how people just operated when her name was brought up. Like, and it's crazy. And the thing is that I've lived through all of this. I remember all of this, okay? I was there for all of these things. But I don't know, it's different now that I'm making a video and I sat here and I edited the segment. It's different now. It just hits a little different now. And now seeing how everything strung together and how everything played out, and remembering this moment, it breaks my heart for her. She didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve that. And I find that to be so wild. I thought it was wild even in real time, but in retrospect, it is genuinely crazy. It is genuinely crazy. And I just still can't believe that happened and that was said. Like, it was just wild. But again, let me reiterate, I don't feel like anybody should send hate to Shamra, to Beja, Lolo, Jacob. I don't feel like anybody should, bring, even though I just brought it up, but like, I don't think anybody should bring up this old situation and like make it a thing again. I don't feel like anybody should be demonized or crucified or anything like that. And for all we know, I think they apologized to each other and got over it. But I just had to add that in there because I just feel like I would not be doing my job correctly if I didn't. I wouldn't be doing this video due diligence or justice if I didn't mention that and bring that up, because I feel like that was definitely a prime example of what I was talking about. Like, people just felt entirely too comfortable making jokes about her sleeping around and her sexuality, and she was a whole teenager. That was just, no. Like, we can't even no. But yeah, I digress. Don't send hate to anybody, but I had to include that before I ended this segment because it was just really important to highlight. But yeah, don't send any hate to anybody or like make this a bigger deal than what it has to be. But yeah, I just had to include that. Now, the next obstacle we'll be discussing, it has a combination of a lot of things that has to do with it, but to make it simpler, I'm just gonna chop it up to pretty privilege. So pretty privilege is essentially when you get a lot of benefits and special treatment based off of being conventionally attractive. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with being able to benefit from any privilege, honestly, because it's a privilege, and there's definitely nothing wrong with being pretty. But this, however, became a problem for India because eventually social media began to change. For starters, more people were starting to become internet famous, especially now that by this time we had apps like Instagram. So now India isn't the only person posting photos that get a lot of likes. Now there's a whole app that's dedicated to getting likes and interactions. But not only that, as time went on, the audience that catered to a lot of these influencers wanted more. So in 2013, the platform called Vine became really successful almost out of nowhere. Vine was also a social media platform, except they weren't focused on photos, they were focused on 5-second videos. With the succession of this app, that led for Instagram to adapt its own version of Vines and started allowing videos on its platform. So this is when people started to upload their content from Vine onto the platform, as well as making their own original content on Instagram's platform, because the selling point for Instagram was that why only have 5 seconds when you can have 15. So Vine and Instagram videos essentially gave birth to a lot of Instagram comedians, and it also helped a lot of people showcase a lot of their talents, whether it was dancing or whether it was being vocally talented. And eventually, majority of these same people would take to apps like YouTube as well as Keek. Do y'all remember Keek? Listen, I tell y'all all the time I am old, but yeah, Keek was a moment. Keek was a time. And I think, didn't they have like 25 seconds, I think? And they were here before Vine, weren't they? But yeah, Also keep in mind that during this time period, people started to go live more often as well. But back then, Instagram Live and Facebook Live weren't a thing. You had to go to completely different platforms in order to go live on the internet. So things like Periscope and Ustream and YouNow became popular as well, which again, these regular everyday people that you follow online would be able to just go live and chat to their fans. Maybe they'll do an impromptu dance, maybe they'll do an impromptu cover of a song or something, you know, like things of that nature. So basically, social media was slowly getting out of its shallow period, and instead of just being a pretty face, you now had to have a personality to go with that pretty face, or else the audience was going to start to get bored. They wanted to see you be funny, even if you weren't necessarily a comedian. They wanted to see how your everyday life was. They wanted to see different aspects of yourself, like who is the person behind these pictures. And this is where, unfortunately, India fell short. So with India being this conventionally attractive young girl, it was a lot of people that assumed that she was outgoing. They assumed that she was fairly popular, and this was literally just based off of the content that she would post on the internet. But contrary to popular belief, she was actually very introverted and very antisocial. And majority of these parties and videos that you would see where it seems like she's having fun and it's like a house full of people, those were her family members and like people that she has known since like practically kindergarten or middle school. She was not the type that got invited to big parties. She was not the type that really, you know, spoke to a lot of people. She was very much to herself. The videos that she would post of herself, they would be fairly short, and it would always showcase like one of her family members or her, like, you know, doing something regular. But it was never really a depiction of who she was or how her day was. It was very like, you know, yeah. So now as time goes on and Instagram is starting to have all these new features, people are expecting her to create a YouTube channel at this point. People are expecting her to come on Instagram Live a few times and do like a Q&A or just talk to the people a few times. And honestly, these things definitely could have helped her brand. It also could have helped her follower count grow, but that was just never India's cup of tea. She did not like talking. She did not like being the center of attention. She just wasn't a fan of it at all.
I decided to go live because I'm not doing anything right now. I never go live. So hey everybody. You guys, I need you guys to help me. I've got on live today so that I can know what in the world, I need to know what I should talk about when I speak on social media, because I don't want to be one of those rambling people who just like talk about nothing or like, okay, so like I was saying, I want to know what I should talk about when I speak on social media. So if you guys have any suggestions or like ideas for me, let me know.
And as far as YouTube is concerned, I think she did attempt to do YouTube like a few times, but again, she gets catfished so much. I don't know if these are like real accounts of hers or if these are just like re-uploads, but
we finna go to Charlie Roost because we want some earrings. Well, I don't want one because I got some real ones on, but they wanna like have some earrings and stuff on because they didn't bring none. So what I'm doing is, I'm in the section with them. We getting some earrings right now. So we just looking at them right now, and we just trying to see like which one we want. She likes feathers, and I don't like feathers because feathers on your ears look stupid. So I just want to let everybody know that the feathers on your ears, you can't rock them. Like, I'm a bitch, so I'ma just keep it as that. Okay? We're in Mexico.
she just wasn't in the business of talking. She wasn't in the business of sitting in front of a camera and talking to people, or even though technically she would be talking to herself, like, but either way, she just didn't like it. She just wasn't a fan of it. But I will say this, the few times that she does let the world in on who she is as a person and her personality, it definitely was not the best. Let's just say that. And a lot of people started to have very negative opinions about her, because oftentimes she would come off as very cocky, conceited, and entitled.
My outfit choices are me. Like, I'm very just all eyes on me type thing. So any type of glitter or diamonds or anything that shines, I love that. But I also love showing a lot of skin. Now, a lot of people take that the wrong way, but I'm just very proud of what God blessed me with. I'm very proud of what my body looks like. I'm very proud of my face, obviously. So a lot of my wardrobe kind of like defined me. I want to shine. I want to be the person that everybody has their eyes on, but yet I want to show my skin, and I want to show a lot of skin, and I just want to kill it, and I did that.
So you ready for the audition?
It's an audition. I do not do auditions.
So
why I gotta audition?
You gotta just go through it. That's what it is.
Well, okay, so the bottoms are too small. Really? Not too small, but too cheeky. Oh, it's just too much shake. Do you want to try the... Okay. Not me. She tries to act holy all the time, and it just, so irritating. And I'm like, you walk around the house with panties all day, and then all of a sudden, oh, you guys, I don't want to wear panties. I'd rather put on some clothes. Like, stop front. Thanks. But that's like Crystal do Crystal. I would just shit on everybody.
Not only that, there were a lot of moments, I'm not gonna lie, there were a lot of moments where India came off as an airhead. Like, she would just say things and you just couldn't help but just stare at the invisible camera trying to figure out what just happened.
What about school? Do you have plans to go to school, and what would you study?
Me? Oh, she's already in school. I'm in school. I go to school in Houston. I'm a business finance major.
Wow.
I'm taking my dad's business, but he doesn't know yet. So, yeah, taking it. Right.
And how about you?
I am more into modeling right now, focusing on that. And, I might go to school for cooking, and I might go to school for massage therapy just because I know those are things I'm going to need to know in the future to be a good wife. But, yeah, that's about it for now for school.
I don't remember much about biology when I was in high school. I do remember I used to copy everybody's work.
If we buy the machine for $28 wholesale, we buy 12,000 pieces. 12,000 pieces is around $336,000. So now you take 1,000 pieces of the 12,000 and make that for promo. Those are the ones we give away. Those are the ones we show people. So 1,000 for promo.
So all of these numbers are going right over my head, one ear and out the other.
The other 11,000 we sell for $199. At 11,000 germalasers.
I'm just going to take his word for it because I know, he knows what he's talking about, and this is his lane and his thing.
Do you think that we fulfilled all the questions, India?
Well,
and then there would come a point in time where both of these worlds came together, and India got some pretty decent backlash. So there was a point in time during the infamous year that is 2020 when everyone had to wear masks. India expressed how much she hated wearing a mask and how a woman in Target came up to her and told her that she had to pull the mask over her nose. And India expressed how much she did not like it. She let it be known to all of, I believe she told Snapchat, she let the world know that she just was not a fan of the mask mandate. She felt like the lady was doing too much. She pretty much berated the lady, not to her face, but to the camera. She basically, got her shit off.
So fun fact, if you're ever working for a business, a corporate business, and my mask is on, and yet you tell me to pull my mask up, first of all this part of my face sweats profusely for whatever reason. So really, I get the biggest attitude in the world because I'm drenched. My mask is technically on, yet it's just not good enough for you guys. This is not doing anything, okay? Coronavirus can go through your eye sockets. They can go through your ears. If it's really like an airborne thing, like that whole pull your mask up, it really gets me hot.
And when she started to get backlash for this particular event or this particular situation, she comes back with a separate video, and her defense was that she is an Aquarius. I'm not joking. You know I got videos. I got the clip. I'm not joking.
Yeah, and for all of you guys in my DMs that's taking this way too serious, it's just a personal issue that I have. I'm an Aquarius. I don't like rules. It's a lot that goes on.
She said that. In this particular situation, I would say it was more of a hiccup. It's not really that important, but it kind of like feeds into the point. So there also was a point in time where people did not like the outfits that India was putting together. Keep in mind that that was one of the many qualities about India that people found appealing, was that they loved her outfits. They loved the fits that she would put together. They were different at that time, you know. But there would just come a point in India's development, like India's career, where like the outfits just were not hitting. I'm not gonna lie, some of them I felt the same way. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. I'm not gonna lie to you. But overall, there were a lot of people where they're just like, baby, you can't even dress, so you don't have a personality and you can't dress. Like, you gotta pick a struggle. People were pissed. People were, yeah, they weren't nice during this time. So to wrap this segment up, why was this such a problem? As I said, as time went on, people wanted more personality, and they just weren't getting that from the famous India Love. By this point, we had people like Aisha Naya, Tyla Flame, Amor Jada started to come up during this time. OG Mana, I mean, the list goes on, you know, like there was a point in time where being famous on Instagram was just like a thing. Like, it had its own culture, its own like little cliques of people. And with these people coming up, not only are they coming up during this time, but they're also showing personality, and they're making people laugh, and they're going live, and they're participating in little trends, whether it was a dance, whether it was an audio. People started to flock to them a little bit more. Not to mention that, again, now that India isn't the only influencer and she's not the only person getting famous and getting thousands of likes on a photo, this also made the brand deals a little bit more, you know, slim for India, because now you have all these options, whereas back in the day, you pretty much only had India. And you know what else I want to talk about? Originally, I wasn't even going to say nothing, but you know what else? You know what else? There are certain people that I have witnessed in today's time. They look like they look a lot like India. They look a lot like India, whether it was surgically done or whether they, like, you know, contour their face a certain way. You can definitely tell that India got some sons. She does. So that was the other thing too. Like, the things that made India appealing, it was now starting to reflect on other people. So it didn't really make her stand out anymore. I'm not going to include photos, even though I kind of want to so bad, but I know that's going to be taken wrong. I know it's going to be taken the wrong way, and I know people are going to get upset with me. And like I said, I don't do these videos to be messy, so I'm just not even going to touch that. But I'm pretty sure, like, y'all know some people where, like, you've seen them and you're just like, this is very 2012 India Love-esque. Like, this, you know, I've seen this before. This looks very familiar. Okay, so I kind of lied, but hear me out. The only reason I am including this particular girl is because she herself has admitted that she's been inspired by India. She herself has admitted that she has seen the resemblance between them, and other people have seen it, whatever, whoop-de-woo. That is the only reason why I'm including her. But understand, again, this is not to be messy. This is not to be shady. This is not me insinuating that she's the issue or whatever. I'm just using this as an example of what I'm talking about. Let me just be clear. This is not to be shady, messy, or anything of that nature. This is just an example of what message I am conveying when I talk about people replicating or looking very similar to India Love during her prom.
Do people say you look like anybody?
Wow. That is crazy you asked. Yes, I get a lot of different people actually, but the main people is India Love. That's sis. I love her so much. We always talk in the DMs. She is a big inspiration to me, and she's really sweet. So I love India. So yeah, her. What's another one? Janae Aiko. I love her as well. She's so sweet and humble. And who else? Lori Harvey. Who else could I think of? Those are like the main people. Yeah.
Now, do people say you just look like these people, or have you ever gotten honestly mistaken for one of these people before in the past?
Yes, I've gotten mistaken as India while I was shopping in the mall one time. They thought I was her. So they came out over to me because I had on shades and everything. They tried to give me like their info and give me to follow them on Instagram. So I was like, I'm not India, I'm Skylar.
And when you said, because there are some celebrities that go shopping with a hoodie over their head and sunglasses, not trying to be seen.
Right.
When you say to this person who thought you were honestly India, do you say, when you say, no, it's not me, did they even believe that? Or did you have to like pull the shades down so they knew you weren't her type of thing?
Yeah, like they just couldn't believe that I wasn't her. They was like, you look so much like her. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I told them I'm not India, I'm Skylar. And I gave them my Instagram. So yeah.
And when you were in communication with the real India,
Yes.
was that before this took place or after?
That was before. Way before.
Never had a chance to meet her in person yet?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to meet her yet.
Now, what is your opinion on Halloween?
Halloween. I love Halloween. That is my favorite holiday of all time, even over Christmas. So, yes, I love Halloween.
Would you ever consider dressing up as India for Halloween as a costume? Or have you already in the past? I don't know.
Well, no, I wouldn't say for Halloween, but I have created some of her looks, and she liked it, so yeah. But I love dressing up for Halloween, so yeah.
And when you were in some of her looks, was that just pictures on social media? Was there a YouTube of this, or what? How far did it go?
Just pictures on social media, and of course it was good, so she reposted it.
And was that before you got in communication with her and started messaging her? Was that what started the communication initially? Was the looks, or were you already in communication with her prior?
I would say, I'm trying to remember.
Take your time.
It was like before I created her looks, and she noticed, and we started talking, and she saw like so much of me and herself. So yeah, she really appreciated it, and she said she was a huge fan of me and looking forward to all the things that may come for me.
So yeah, all of these things essentially made India fall behind, even though she was one of the first or one of the OG influencers, and is essentially why the app Instagram even became famous in the first place. Another issue that India would face in her career is prejudices within the industry. So in the mid-2000s, reality TV became a very, very popular source of entertainment. This was due to the writer's strike in 2007, where majority of the people that write these movies and these TV shows decided to go on strike because of unfair pay. So shows that were already in the works pretty much just had to cancel, and there definitely was no one out there that was really willing to even create new concepts that people could get attached to. So this caused a lot of TV networks to come up with new concepts of how to make TV entertaining again. And boom, you have reality shows. So we started to see shows like John and Kate Plus 8, The Osbournes, Life of Ryan, Rock of Love, I Love New York, which was a spin-off of the reality show Flavor of Love, and the most long-lasting reality TV show known to date. It is still going on to this day. Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So I'm pretty sure majority of you guys know who the Kardashians are, but let's hypothetically say that you have no idea who these women are and how they came to fame. So the Kardashians were a wealthy family from Los Angeles, California that had a modest yet lavish lifestyle. They were tied to well-known celebrities and recognizable faces, such as Paris Hilton being best friends with Kim Kardashian, Robert Kardashian, who is Kim's biological father and recognized by his affiliation with the O.J. Simpson trial, Caitlyn Jenner being the step-parent of Kim, as well as the biological parent of Kylie and Kendall, and of course Ray J, who was the recent ex of Kim Kardashian at the time. The show became a hit time after time due to the wild adventures and explosive disagreements the family would have between each other.
Don't be rude. Are you kidding me? I swear to God, stop. Don't be what are you throwing the thing on me. I'll hurt you. Don't do that. Stop. Oh my God. Hey, get out.
And this would cause the entertainment world to want to replicate this formula of crazy sisters that go on wild adventures. So one of those successors was a show called Pretty Wild. And this show showcased the sisters that were involved in the infamous Bling Ring, which was a group of teenagers that pretty much robbed majority of the famous people in Hollywood. And this was such a big story at the time that the reality show basically was centered around them being arrested as well as their court trial. And even within the Kardashian universe, they also had their own spin-offs from their main show. And as showcased today, this reality show has led them to have really big opportunities, and a lot of them have started their own brands, such as Kylie Cosmetics, Skims, and many, many more. Now you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with India Love at all? So as I've stated before, there was a desire to replicate the success of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. This is something that I talk about often when I do these series. I often talk about this invisible formula, but this is something that they do in the entertainment industry, where if they see that one thing is working, they will try to take that concept and replicate it as many times as possible. Sometimes it's a cash grab, and sometimes they genuinely just want to give new fresh faces to a trend that's currently going on. So with this desire to get a new set of crazy sisters that go on these wild adventures that have various different dynamics and somehow feed off of each other, as well as showcasing someone's rise to fame, whether that's everybody in the family or just one specific focal point, it goes without saying at this point that India Love and her family definitely fit this formula to a T. So again, India comes from a large family that lives in Los Angeles, California. And even though the family is originally from Compton, they eventually would move to a town called Corona. And by the time that they moved to this particular part of town, this is when we would start to see India and Crystal actually get their notoriety on social media. And by 2012, India was very known, not just in LA, but at this point practically nationwide. And she definitely had multiple ties to the industry at this point. So you would think that India and her family would definitely be next in line. You would think that they would definitely fit this formula well enough to where they're the next people that are going to come out with a show. So why did it take years and years and years for them to finally have a reality show? Well, it's because they're black. Like, is it not obvious? So here's the thing. Like I said before, India was known for being fairly racially ambiguous. Obviously, you could see that there was some black somewhere in that mixture, somewhere in there. And if you've seen what her dad looks like, then you're fully aware, like, okay, her dad is black, which means, like, she's black, right? Like, she has black inside of her, right? But if we want to be technical, India and her siblings are technically multiracial. Like, biracial isn't even fair at this point because it's literally like a lot of stuff. So from what I'm able to understand, her mom is actually mixed with Spanish and Creole, and their dad is apparently black and Indian.
What's your dad's ethnicity? Because you all look mixed.
Dad is African American. Dad's black.
And your mom?
My mom is Spanish and Creole.
There you go. Oh, so you're Latinas. Perfect.
Yeah.
This makes sense. No, well, I see that. I see the exotic look on all your faces, and that's one of the things I find very attractive.
So this is the reason why India and her siblings, they kind of look like, you know that they are people of color, but you're not really exactly sure exactly which color or where they come from, because it's just pretty much all of that at once. And depending on which sibling you look at, it just comes out completely different. So I remember when India was first coming up, there was a lot of people that genuinely believed that she was either Hispanic or she was Blasian. And listen, I don't want to be biased. I don't want to, be a liar. But I feel like India made being Blasian popular. Not saying that Blasian people didn't exist until India came into this world, but I feel like the obsession came from her. And it's so funny because it's like she wasn't even Blasian. But I digress, because that's not the point that we're making in this video. So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is, even though India and her siblings are essentially racially ambiguous, they still were not in close proximity to whiteness enough to be shown on TV. So the thing is that despite all of these things that India and her family are mixed with, and despite the fact that they are of a lighter complexion, they are socially black people, and they often announce their blackness.
First motherfucking black owned tobacco company. Let's throw that out there.
Y'all need to know that.
The only
black owned in the market.
Okay, let it be known. Talk your shit then. Talk your shit.
Us black people, we gotta let that be known out there.
Right.
We should shine more light on the positive, shine more light on the love, shine more light on coming together as black people and doing things. Let's support black owned businesses. Why we keep supporting, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff. Like we will win.
Absolutely.
If we did that, but everybody for themselves.
They have no shame wearing their natural hair. They have no shame wearing things like bantu knots and sew-ins and laying their baby hairs and stuff of that nature. Like I said, they're originally from Compton. Apparently, they still go back to Compton sometimes and kick it with their homeboys and stuff like that.
From the LA life to the Corona, well, he sacrificed really his lifestyle. For me, I kind of went back because that's the way that I knew, the life that I knew. I came out here for a while.
Morgan is, I don't want to say she's in a gang. She's not in a gang. But she has like a biker group, Like, she got all these tattoos and stuff. The reality of it is that Hollywood wanted them to be essentially a little bit more whitewashed. And the fact that they were never really whitewashed and they were always unapologetically black, proudly claimed their blackness, never tried to play like this biracial, multiracial card. The industry wasn't ready for that because the industry was still trying to put up this persona that all the people that live in LA are like high class and bougie. Like they low-key tried to erase, South Central and Compton and Crenshaw and all those other places. Back in the 90s, I guess that was the place to be, so that was something that was heavily pushed in the 90s. But once we get to the 2010s, they were trying to push Beverly Hills. They were trying to push Calabasas and Malibu. And unfortunately, the Westbrooks just did not fit the criteria that they were looking for. We have been having a lot of bonded segments in this video, and I just want to, put it out there. I apologize, okay? But we have a lot to cover. We just have a lot to cover. So I wanted to expand on the topic of racial identities, especially as it involves biracial people, multiracial people, or people that are racially ambiguous phenotypically. I wanted to expand on that because I have noticed that as of recently, or more so in a few recent years, we have had a lot of controversies surrounding people that are biracial and multiracial and how they identify with their blackness. And I feel like, which it just comes with the territory, honestly, but I feel like somebody would probably use this as ammunition to like further a particular narrative that I don't necessarily agree with. So I just wanted to come on here and clarify some things a little bit more for the sake of, understanding from the public perspective, but also to let it be known, where I stand on the situation without really, causing an uproar or a controversy myself. But either way it goes, let's just get started. Also, I feel like this is important for us to factor in as well. Understand that racial identities are different depending on what country you go to, depending on what country you live in. So I will be specifically talking about racial identities in the USA. everybody's different, so please don't give me a lecture in the comments, because I really don't care. It has nothing to do with me. Thank you very much. Okay. So as it pertains to the USA, I will say that part of the reasons why being biracial or multiracial becomes somewhat of a talking point, it really stems back to practically the slavery days, where we had a thing called the one drop rule. So the one drop rule was essentially a racial classification that the USA used to identify those that were of African descent. So what this entailed is that if you had even at least, I don't want to get the percentages wrong, but if you had at least about 20% of a genetic makeup of a black person, you were then identified as black. So let's say that it was a situation where you grew up in a predominantly black family, but maybe your mom's side of the family, they were culturally mixed a little bit more, or mixed with a little bit more white. But as time went on, you usually were always around black people, but eventually the blackness, at least phenotypically, started to kind of like weigh itself out. So now you're a very light toned or high yellow, as they used to call it, but you still had a very kinky texture of hair. They would identify you as black because of that, because you are not what they would consider white passing. This is where we get terms like white passing, because if there was anything that gave off the inclination that you were not white, they were automatically othering you. Automatically. So the people that were still genetically made up of blackness, whether it was 50%, whether it was 20%, or even more than that, if they could pass for white, that was usually what they did in order to survive. That was usually the privilege that they had, and they got a better quality of life because of that. And this was such a common thing in places like Louisiana, to the point where within certain parts of Louisiana, but specifically in Creole culture, they have a whole community of people that are referred to as passe blanc. And what this means is that you pass for white, but you identify that you still have black ancestry in your blood, right? Now, again, I'm only speaking in terms of what goes on in the US. I'm not speaking on any other country. I'm not talking about anybody else, because I don't know nothing about anybody else. I know a little something. Let me take that back. I know a little something, but we're focused on the US right now. So understand that within the US, this was something that was completely legal across the board. Like every single state, you were allowed to use this justification or use this rule of thumb to identify somebody as black or identify somebody as white. For the most part, there was no biracial. If anything, that's when we got terms like mulatto. That's when we got terms like that. But for the most part, you really did not have biracial people. You were either black, or you were white, or you were Latino. So this was actually a legal practice that was across all the states. And it wasn't until when did this end? It ended before the 21st century. I know that much. So I want to say like probably somewhere in the 70s they probably got rid of this, and it's now identified as racial discrimination instead of a racial identification factor. But unfortunately, in today's day and age, we still somewhat use that one drop rule to essentially give people this invisible black card that doesn't actually exist. So, unfortunately, this is where being biracial or multiracial becomes somewhat of a controversy, because you will see certain people that are not phenotypically black that will claim their blackness, and that becomes very questionable. And then you'll also see certain people where they are phenotypically black and have certain black features, but a lot of them tend to have this way about them where they try to distance themselves from their blackness. And then you also have certain people that are multiracial or biracial where they pull out the black card when it's convenient. But if you ask them like, hey, are you black? They'll automatically just write it off as like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It is what it is, so on and so forth. So, of course, I have a few examples to give you guys. So the first example that I want to give is the famous singer Jhené Aiko. So Jhené Aiko is a singer-songwriter who has identified as multicultural for majority of her singing career as far as I'm concerned. Now the thing is that Jhené grew up in California around a lot of black people and people that were at least half black. During her development in the music industry, you know, she pretty much predominantly made hip hop and R&B music, hip hop, R&B, neo soul type blends. I think she did have an era in her life where she was doing R&B and pop, but she pretty much was making black music. Like, you know, she was making black music. So there were a lot of people that just kind of like accepted her into the black community by default. And in all fairness, you know, one of the things that Jhené is mixed with is black, and you can also see within some of her features that, you know, she has curly hair. She has naturally curly hair. She does tan fairly easy, but she still kind of sort of phenotypically looks like her Asian counterparts within her family, right? But not to mention, she also used to frequently use the N-word. Well, not frequently, but she did use the N-word pretty like regularly like any other black person. So this started to become somewhat of a controversy, somewhat of a question to her identity, because there were certain people where it was a no-brainer that she could say it because they were going off of the fact that culturally and, you know, personality wise she was black. But when you really sat down and thought about it, Jhené never really came out and told the world that she was black. Jhené never really said anything about her blackness. So can we really call this girl black, or is she just some Asian girl that just be running around in the hood with a bunch of black people and they just kind of gave her that label? People started to question that. People started to definitely take that into consideration. So Jhené, for the most part, would ignore this question until about 2021, where somebody hit her up on Twitter and pretty much asked her to, like, you know, explain your heritage, explain your racial makeup, because we keep hearing you say that you're multiracial, but then you keep using the N-word, but then you're also not trying to identify as a black woman. So what's going on with that? What's up with that? So this is when Jhené would respond to the Twitter user, and she would say, "I am less black than someone half black, but also less white than someone half white. And Asian is the least thing I am. So at this point, it's whatever they want me to be. I have a Japanese grandfather and a Creole Dominican grandmother on my mother's side, and both of my father's parents are black and white. My DNA results came in, I'm 25% Asian, 33% African, and 34% European. So that is what I'm referring to in the tweet. Also, those DNA sites update and change from time to time, so who actually knows? Okay, now I'm done explaining. Promise I am human, and I see you all as family regardless of how you view me." Now, the thing is that most people, they took this for what it is. She has enough blackness within her to where she has the freedom to identify as black and, you know, have the little black pass, the N-word pass. Like, that was a lot of people's logic for things of that nature. But then you still had a lot of people that kind of felt some type of way about this, simply because this is the first time that she's actually even identified her blackness this whole entire time. Like, she never really specified that she had African descent origins. Like, she never really sat there and specified that. And now with her saying it this late into her career, and to find out that she's only 33%, people definitely started to look at that a little bit and question that a little bit. And that's, I think, where the conversation really started to arise as far as like people that identify as biracial and multiracial. Because why can you pull out your blackness when it conveniences you and when you feel like it, but those that look like me, those that look like, you know, any other black person you could possibly think of, you know for a fact that they're black and there's no question. You know for a fact that they have African ancestry, and there's no question. Why are we allowing people to do that? And why are we allowing people to just identify as black even if majority of their makeup is a completely different race? So that also leads me to another singer-songwriter, and that is Kalani. Now, Kalani is also a hip hop and R&B artist. She also writes a lot of music, and she is also someone who has been considered racially ambiguous but has been accepted within the black community due to their role in R&B and hip hop and, you know, things that are typically stereotypically black. So, the thing about Kalani is that their race has always been tricky. It has never been clear. I don't even think Kalani fully knows what they're mixed with. But it's a given just by looking at Kalani. Kalani is definitely mixed. With what? We're not 100% sure. But either way it goes, Kalani was one of those people that was raised up in Oakland, California. So she was around a decent amount of black people. She knows a lot of black people. She's been, you know, accepted by a lot of black people. Like, this is all that Kalani really knows. But as far as what we are actually aware of, Kalani is mixed with Native American, white, Spanish, Filipino, and black somewhere. But yet majority of the black community and even various people in the music industry see Kalani as a black woman or as a black artist. So hopefully by now you guys kind of get that point that I'm trying to make. The problem is not necessarily the genetic makeup. It is more so a cultural impact and a cultural thing or a social thing more than anything. Like, there's so much more to blackness. And again, I'm only speaking on the US, but there is so much more to being black and identifying as black than to just being phenotypically black or even your genetic makeup. It takes a certain level of affiliation with the black community in order to really be seen and identified as black. And the thing is, it's not just within the black community, it's everyone. It is everywhere that you go in America, which is why when I say people like Jhené Aiko and Kalani, I use them on purpose, because these are people where if you went to a random white girl, she probably know like 2 songs. She probably don't know these people. She probably knows nothing about these people. She hasn't been there since, you know, the mixtape days, and people probably, you know, these same people, they probably don't know that Janae's been making music since like what, 2007? They don't know these things. They don't know B2K. They don't know these things at all. So it's the same thing when I talk about India and her family and I talk about the Westbrooks. It's not just that they have enough phenotypes to where somebody can look at them and be like, oh yeah, they're black. Oh, their dad's black, so I'm going to call them black. No, it has to do with the fact that in the eyes of black people, we can affiliate with them better than we can affiliate with a Kardashian. And it's the same thing with these Hollywood execs. It's the same thing with these people that produce these TV shows. When they look at the Westbrooks, they do not see racially ambiguous women. They do not see multicultural women. They do not see biracial women. They don't even acknowledge the fact that these are women that grew up in Corona. Well, majority of them grew up in Compton, but you know, like when they started getting their stardom on social media, their family lives in a decent house with a pool in the backyard in Corona. They don't see that. Their dad is a business owner of 2-3 different businesses. They don't see that. Because ultimately, it doesn't have to do with them phenotypically. It has to do with their social adjacentness to blackness. And the fact that not only does the black community identify with them and accept them, but they do go out of their way to let it be known that they are in fact black. They embrace their blackness. I really haven't heard them really talk about being proud to be biracial or anything like that. They walk into a room, they say we are black women. That's the problem that Hollywood has. Now, I'm going to give you one more example of what I'm referring to and what I'm talking about, because this also just drives the point home even more. So going back to what I said about the one drop rule, Creole people are essentially a community that was birthed because of this rule. So Creole people are people that are mixed with French and or Spanish descent, Native American, and African American ancestry. Keep in mind, the Westbrooks also said that they were mixed with this, right? So let's also name a few other celebrities that have identified themselves as being Creole as well. So we have obviously Beyonce and Solange. We have people like Ari Fletcher, also known as the Real Kyle sister. And we have people like Katie Aubert. What you'll notice about these people is that they do tend to have lighter skin. Sometimes they'll have different color eyes. Sometimes their hair might be really, really thick, but it's like a looser curl pattern. This is due to them being multiracial. This is due to them having that Creole in their blood. That is essentially what it means to be Creole and what a lot of Creole people tend to look like. And of course, like I said earlier, there's some that are passé blanc. There are some that just completely pass for white and you would not know. Now, let's talk about a community that I didn't even know about until I joined TikTok. And these people are known as Melungeon. So Melungeon people are essentially the same thing. Honest to God. And I don't know if I'm going to get in hot water for that, but they essentially are the same thing because Melungeons are pretty much mixed with the same thing. They have African American ancestry. They are the descendants of slaves. They were mixed with the white people that were already living in the mountains. They're also mixed with a lot of Native Americans. They are essentially the same makeup as Creole people genetically. And the characteristics of a lot of Melungeons is that they have a lot of thick hair and that they, tend to tan easy. And some of them, majority of them, they do pass as white. Majority of them, I don't think they know that they have black ancestry. Some of them do, some of them don't. But yeah, these are people that low-key have the same phenotype. They low-key have the same characteristics. The only thing that's different between these two is where they were raised. So Melungeons are actually from the Appalachian Mountains, whereas with Creole people, they tend to be Louisiana Creole. Even though, from what I understand, I know a lot of Creole people that live in like Texas, a lot of Creole people that even live in California, but to say the least, Creole people exist in the South. And they exist in cities that are predominantly black. Whereas with Melungeon people, they live in the Appalachian Mountains, surrounded by a lot of white people. And when it all comes down to it, you'll notice that only one group is heavily identified with African Americans or black people as opposed to the other. Now again, same genetic makeup, but one is more so identified with black people than the other. It's because socially, one group of people is black. Socially, one group of people is white. Has nothing to do with genetics, has nothing to do even with the phenotype. It really just has to do with the fact that socially, this is just how it goes. And again, I'm only speaking on the US. And I also want to talk about how another fun fact that I didn't realize until I did the research, with Creole people have Creole culture. There's a lot of culture that goes into Creole people, from the music that they listen to the food that they make, the food that they eat. I believe they have their own dialect. I know that some speak French, but it's not as common as you would think. But either way it goes, there are some that speak French as well as English, but last time I checked, they have their own language as well. With Melungeon people, again, socially, they were white. So a lot of them actually lost a lot of their indigenous roots. A lot of them actually lost a lot of their African roots. So as time went on, a lot of them just kind of assimilated. So a lot of what could have been a part of their culture is lost. So the only thing that I found, and I'm not even joking, the only thing that I found as far as like Melungeon culture is literally something called chocolate gravy. And from what I understand, it's essentially just chocolate sauce, and they just put it on biscuits from time to time, and it's like a dessert. That's literally all I got. But again, these are essentially the same people. These are the same people. Same genetic makeup, same everything. So the fact that, we as people back in the day, that one drop rule, we all would have been in the same boat. We would have been the same exact people. And we wouldn't be able to deny that. We wouldn't be able to just pick that up and leave it where it's at. It would just be, oh, you're all black. But notice how we don't do that, even though genetically speaking, we're all cousins. That's what I mean. It takes more than just a phenotype and an ancestor to be black. It takes way more than that for anybody to really sit down and claim their blackness. And that's why I say, like, them being black had everything to do with them struggling to get this reality show. It had to do with it. Whether we want to play dumb or not, that's exactly what happened. And another thing that I want to bring up too, as it pertains to the topic that we're using, I also feel like, and this is just a theory of mine personally, let me say that I can't prove it. I don't think any of us can prove it, but I just want us to be clear. This is my own personal theory. I also feel as though part of the reason why they did not want to give the Westbrooks a show is also due to the fact that during the early 2010s, the Westbrooks were getting caught up in a lot of controversy for alleged cultural appropriation. That's what I'll say. I'm picking my words wisely. But yeah, they got caught up in a lot of accusations of cultural appropriation, from darkening their skin to wearing braids, box braids, cornrows. I think, didn't they, what else did they do? I know there was controversy around their cosmetic surgeries, lip fillers, and all of that, how they were trying to emulate black women. I think for a period of time, Kylie was wearing hair weave, so they were saying that she was, trying to emulate black women, it was a lot going on at that time. But the thing is that globally, people do not believe that black people have a culture. So when black people were starting to point these things out and speak on these things, especially because this was also during a time where people were becoming social justice warriors, people were becoming more vocal about their rights and being respected as individuals and stuff like that, everyone kind of brushed it off. It was definitely controversy. It definitely would make headlines, but for the most part, people definitely were kind of you're being dramatic. You're doing a little bit too much. It's not that serious. Nobody's doing that. You know what I'm saying? And it was partially due to the fact that ultimately it was hard to prove that a hairstyle belonged to black people. It was hard to prove that, white people couldn't darken their skin, or if they did darken their skin, it was because they wanted to be black. It's certain things where, in all honesty, it is kind of hard to fight and tell somebody that, oh, this is black culture, or this is what black people do, because, black people essentially built their culture from the ground up. So there are certain aspects of what we do that is essentially things that have been here this whole entire time, but it's got a certain flavor to it. It's got a certain twist to it, a little twang to it. So it's hard to prove that. And if we're going to be honest, there's a lot of people that didn't have black people that had the same success as the Kardashians. So ultimately, it's we can't prove that. You know, especially because the Kardashians have their fair share of the black people that they choose to hang out with, you know? We've never seen these people come out and say anything about this or complain about that. So, you know, like how can we prove that? I feel like, and again, this is my own personal theory. I feel like had the Westbrooks been on TV at the same exact time as the Kardashians, God forbid on the same network, these allegations would no longer be allegations. It would be solid proof of everything. Because again, the Westbrooks had no problem being black, proudly black, unapologetically black. They had no problem with it. So if we click on the TV and we see Kim Kardashian laying her baby hairs, and then you click the other channel and you see India and her sisters, her whole entire family, taking turns laying each other's baby hairs, and they're very visibly black grandmothers sitting on their couch, yeah, that was gonna start something. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. That was definitely gonna start something, especially because this family already has a lot of parallels to each other. That was gonna start something. But again, my own personal theory. But I do believe that is definitely part of the reason why it was so difficult for them to get a reality show that actually aired on TV. Not gonna lie. But yeah, just to wrap this little bonnet segment up, this is what I mean when I say that, you know, Hollywood didn't want these black girls on TV. If they would have just been like, oh, we've lived our whole entire lives in Corona and we just go to Starbucks and we wear tights and yoga pants and if they would have assimilated, great. If they would have been one of those biracial, multiracial people where they pull out their black card when it's convenient, great. But you came in here repping Compton. No thanks. No thank you. You're proudly going on interviews saying that, you know, you come from a black-owned business. No thank you. You could have just said your dad was a hard worker. You didn't have to specify the race. So we're going to go elsewhere. Yeah. So hopefully that cleared some things up. Hopefully we're all on the same page now. But yeah, that's what I mean. Being black is way more deeper than just looking black. Being black is way more deeper than one of your parents being black or one of your grandparents being black or your great grandparents being black. It's so much more to that. So much more. You having heat damaged curls ain't got nothing to do with being black, okay? So yeah, hope that gets a lot of questions answered. And let's also address something else that I know is going to be controversial because it's been controversial for a while. It seems as though the industry doesn't really like showing positive depictions of black people, let alone black women in general. So I feel like that also had something to do with it as well. Again, they was, you know, the people. They was for the people, but they wasn't hood enough. So the media was kind of looking for either you gonna be completely whitewashed and talk like a valley girl, or you gonna be just completely ghetto, completely ratchet, be outside fighting in your draws. You gotta be one or the other, but you can't be both. Can't be both. And that was pretty much what the Westbrooks were. Like, they were a nice even amount of both. Like, you could tell like they can kick it, but they got some class. Like, they're not gonna, you know, they ain't about to be in the streets like that. Like, it never gave that. And the reason why I say this is because in an interview, Morgan actually stated that that was one of the complications that they had while recording the reality TV show.
But too, going back to that, how you saying, like, as a family, like, for the season, we didn't get another season because there wasn't enough drama.
And see, I'm glad you brought that up because you did mention that you guys had the highest ratings, and that's the thing that people don't talk about.
Right.
It's like you could have the most amazing numbers, but if it's not what they want,
they thought that we could compete with Love and Hip Hop. That's what they wanted.
Gotcha. Of course.
They saw family, Instagram, black.
Yeah, that's
we gonna get some drama. We gonna and because when we got on set and we weren't arguing and fighting and doing all that, yeah, we had good footage and all that, but they were just like, we rather not. We want some real, we want some drama, and we wasn't signing up for that.
Do you think that that's a problem, like with urban television and entertainment, is they kind of want us to portray that, like the rah-rah and the turn up, as opposed to like the Cosby Show?
Yeah, because I look at it too, it's the same way with music.
It is.
So if you ain't talking about the BS, it's gonna be harder for you.
And India would go on to add her 2 cents as well.
Honestly, when people compare us to the Kardashians and that family, it's honestly like it's an honor. It's a compliment. You know, they do really well for however they got there. You know, they're like expanding their territory times a billion.
I love it. Always giving them flowers.
Yeah, like
never take nothing away
absolutely.
from them.
I really vouch for them as a family, but I know my family's better. Not even better, but like, come on now.
Your family's a blast.
First of all, we all from the same mom and dad, so we could start there. But
keep going. Keep going.
We can start there, but I don't want to like disrespect nobody.
No,
but
it's not
like
disrespectful.
me and my sisters are just, we're the ones, you know? Like it's nothing fake, fraudulent. It's nothing, you know, you can just make up. We're very much organically just like a real close-knit family, and we don't strive for nothing but just to build each other up and love and to just move forward as a family. Nobody's individually trying to like, you know, do their own thing and go solo. Like, no, we are all a group and we're all trying to just elevate from there. Like, we only did 1 season on our show, BET. Something happened with our production, honestly. Like, the production crew they chose, it went left. So from there, it was just like, I don't know what happened.
Would you guys be open to bringing that back maybe one day?
Absolutely. I've been wanting them to hop on YouTube so that we can open that avenue of getting people to see us, and then they can come to us rather than, you know, trying to pitch it to the network.
Powerful. I agree.
And dare I say, let's take it a step further, even just talking about social media, because there's a lot of people that pretty much give the Kardashians credit for essentially creating what an influencer is. So I looked this up a few months ago. I'm not sure if these numbers are still the same, but apparently the Kardashians actually have a combination of 1.2 billion followers. It seems like as soon as they joined the app Instagram, they started to be flooded with a lot of opportunities to do brand deals. And as time went on, the ball just kept rolling and rolling and rolling for the Kardashians. Due to this is essentially where the influencer train pretty much came from. Because again, there was a time period where if you were famous on Instagram, you were just famous on Instagram. If you were famous on the internet in general, you were literally just internet famous. This wasn't a job. This wasn't a career. This wasn't lucrative. It was just something that you do for fun. And if you got the clout, then you got the clout. If you don't, you don't. The Kardashians essentially put the world on game to the fact that, hey, if you want to, you can actually make money from posting your pictures and videos. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing. And this is partially why I do the series that I do on my channel. If we want to be honest, we already had our influencers. We already had our people that, you know, promoted a product or promoted a clothing line or promoted hair extensions, nails, and, you know, businesses or whatever. This was not a new concept. This was something that had been happening for a good minute. And even down to like appearance wise, like aesthetic wise, we had outfit inspirations. We had, you know, ideas of what sneakers we wanted to buy next and how we wanted to do our hair, how we wanted to do our makeup. And again, the whole couples goals type thing. Like we already had that. We been there, done that, you know? We seen people get monetized, whether that was on YouTube. We seen people make cameos and video shoots. We seen people get modeling gigs just by posting a selfie. Like we've already been there, you know? We already did that. This is nothing new. But I'm always going to give credit when it's due. I'm going to be honest. I always give credit when it's due. And I have to say that Kylie Jenner is essentially the one that really made influencers who they were, and pretty much was the reason why people started to take influencing as a career choice instead of just like, oh, you just some girl from the internet, you know? But like I said, this is not a new concept. This had been going on for a good minute at this point, like forever ago. So my point that I'm making, before y'all call me a hater and say like, oh my God, you hate the Kardashians. Listen, I don't care for them, but I don't hate them. Like, let's be clear. That's not what this is about. But the point that I'm trying to make is that why did it take for Kylie specifically, for this whole entire thing to be recognized as an actual career choice. Because if people of color had been doing it this whole entire time, how was this any different? Because I remember when there was a point in time where people said that if you're famous on Instagram, it was the equivalent of making Monopoly money. I remember that. There was memes about it and everything. And one of the reasons why being an influencer within like the black community was so popular was because there were a lot of black owned businesses that were trying to come up at the time. And one of the things that black people really didn't get the experience or the chance to do was to put their brands out there or be able to network with other big brands. So we essentially resorted to networking with each other, and it trickled down to my generation. We were teenagers, but even then it was like we knew what networking was at such a young age because that was essentially the culture. So why did it take all these years for it to be taken as a literal career choice? And then, as always, you coined the term something completely different than what it originally was named. That's the point that I'm trying to make. That is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Like, that is the clear difference between the two, and that's why I say that prejudices were definitely one of the reasons why India, and specifically her family, had such a hard time coming up in their careers and getting things like a reality TV show. Because realistically, yes, they were next in line, but it just didn't work that way because they was black, and they was a little too black for Hollywood.
You know what, Morgan? I respect what you said about being from Compton and trying to get out the hood. Are the Westbrooks the next Kardashians?
Yeah. What about the comparison with that? The comparison.
The comparison is to me is bittersweet because of the level that they're on. Yeah, we want to definitely get there.
Absolutely.
But our family values are totally different. So we separate ourselves. We're from the hood. We weren't born with silver spoons and all that. It doesn't go down like that. So we're gonna give you real. We're gonna give you messed up weaves. We're gonna give you pajamas walking outside, some real hood shit.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, I love the comparison because I hope one day we can get on that level. They did their
empire.
thing. Yeah, they built their mom did a great job with them. So if we could just grind like they did, I don't have no problem, you know.
And ironically, one of the very things that almost was a nail in the coffin for India Love's career was actually the very anticipated reality show. So as stated before, India Love and her family were growing in popularity. So obviously a reality TV show would do major success for their brand. So in December of 2013, Layer Television would actually develop somewhat of a reality TV show into a web series that would be posted on YouTube, simply referred to as The Westbrooks. Now, this variation of the show pretty much showed the dynamic and the bonds between each family member and how this family started to slowly rise in fame. The series only had 6 episodes and ended by March of 2014. And as predicted, the series was a success, racking in 2.5 million views. This was the first time that fans of the Westbrooks, especially fans of India Love, finally got to see a little bit more in depth into their lives besides the itty bitty short clips that were being posted online. Now, even though this show was successful, it also came with its own criticism. Number one, because the posts were not as consistent or as frequent as fans would have liked. And for it to only be 6 episodes, it's like, you could have just uploaded these weekly, you know? It didn't really take months and months and months to release these videos. And number two, there would come a point in time in the series where you could tell that certain events were definitely staged. So there's an episode called Morgan is the Boss where Crystal and India decide to work at a tanning salon that Morgan owns. And the plot of the episode is essentially that India and Crystal ruin one of the customers' tans. And it was extremely clear to the audience that all of this was fake. Either that lady was an actress, an aspiring actress, or something of that nature. But like literally none of it was convincing. None of it.
Crystal, why have you? Because I need you to get here now. To the salon, I have somewhere to go. Just bring her. I don't care. Come on, I need to leave.
right, bye.
Excuse me, but is it supposed to be looking like this?
Yeah. Isn't it look good? I think so.
I don't know, I'm dripping everywhere and it looks horrible.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be fine. Just take a shower and it'll just drip.
No, you know what? I think I want my money back. I'm not gonna walk out looking like this.
I think that it'll be fine.
No, I want my money
Once
back.
you take your shower,
No, I
it'll
don't
look
think
cute.
when I take a shower, it's still not gonna look good. It's gonna look horrible. I look streaky. I have a party to go to tomorrow and I look horrible.
India, can you call Morgan?
You're gonna tell me this looks good? I want to talk to the manager right now.
Once you take a shower, I swear. I think it's just a new machine. I'm not used to it.
No, she's not used to me. No, I don't even think you even know what you were doing. I want to speak to your manager right now or I want my money back.
Hold on, we'll call her right now. Yeah. Hey, Grace.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
I just got my legs airbrushed right now and look at the way they look. Horrible.
Seriously?
I have somewhere I have to be and I'm not leaving looking like this. I want my money back. What are you gonna do to satisfy me?
India? Huh? Seriously?
How's her?
Okay,
Look, I don't know what's going on, but you need to do something to fix this.
Yeah, I'll fix it for you. It's on me. It's on the house. I'm sorry. I apologize. I left them in charge, and I thought they could try Morgan.
Now, scripted television is nothing new for the world of reality TV, but it just seemed like it was, you know, entirely too obvious. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. But despite all that, this web series actually did help them get an actual reality TV show. So in October of 2016, #TheWestbrooks would premiere on BET. Now, this variation of the show didn't only showcase the family dynamic, but also the interpersonal workings and relationship dramas that each of the siblings were going through, as well as the siblings officially trying to build the Westbrooks brand. Now again, this was something that was highly anticipated. This is something that people had been waiting on. And the fact that it was on BET just kind of solidified like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then it wasn't. The show flopped. It flopped. It brought in views, but they weren't really positive views. So here's a few of the critiques. For starters, the trailer kind of gave this impression that majority of the controversies that were making it onto the blogs and the media outlets would be explored a little bit more in depth and in real time, at least like through the reality show. And people got to see every sibling side of the story with certain situations and certain variations. But when it came time for those specific episodes surrounding these controversies to air, it really was lackluster. So there's multiple moments like this, but just to give an example, around this time, this was when India was still dating the rapper The Game. And there comes a point in time where paparazzi had took a picture of India and The Game at the park, and they essentially were in a compromising situation. There were hands being placed in areas, you know? Are you catching my drift? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Because I don't know what all I'm allowed to say on YouTube at this point. But not only was the hand in that area, apparently he also made her smell it. Which, you know, that still confuses me to this day. Like, yeah. But what made it worse was that this was in public. This was in a public park with people around. So that definitely had people like, girl, what? And that, again, was something that was showcased in the trailer. And you see that India is devastated and she's sad about it. And she's like, there's more to the story. So, ta-da! The episode comes, people are waiting, and she doesn't really expand upon it besides saying that she was set up somehow, and then it just goes on to the next scene.
Is everything okay? It's like so touchy. I just got embarrassed in front of the whole entire world. I was sitting there with him, and I look, and there's a van with a big-ass camera. Then he goes, well, guess you're going to see us on the blogs tomorrow. That has never happened to me before, and the fact that I found out and did all this stuff was like, no, that really didn't happen. Like, don't believe it. Like, those pictures and that headline was excruciating. I was so hurt and just so, like, dying inside. I personally think that he knows that my name's gonna do this. So he wanted to keep his name tied to mine. Why the would you do that to me when I was your down-ass bitch? I will never, ever, ever in my life, ever go back.
He's done. Forever. Just keep it pushing.
All the attention that I get about my ex on social media makes me overwhelmed, but I'll get through it and get myself back if he can just stay the away.
That was it. We don't really know like why she did it. We don't know the backstory. We just don't know anything. It was just, that was it. Yeah.
Speaking of rumors and things on Instagram and things that are said and whatnot, India, how did you get over that whole post that went down with the game?
It's a lot of prayer. I mean, you know, it caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And
who takes a picture? Is that somebody in the distance?
That was all set up, big.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the hell is going on with this.
I mean, India don't like to talk about it.
I don't like to talk about it because, you know, that whole relationship, it taught me a lot. So I don't like to bash it, you know. But that certain situation was really, 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 like, it fucked me up. Because I'm new to this celebrity shit. I didn't know that other people, you know, set people up just to keep people's name tied to them, you know? And I was at a certain point at that moment where I wanted, you know, a really big separation from that person, and obviously his intentions weren't the same.
He wanted to get closer, so why not go and just...
It was just a big setup, and I was really embarrassed, and it was everywhere, and there was nothing I could do about it but pray and ask my family to pray for me because I was going through it. Like, that shit fucked me up, period. Like, I don't like that. I don't
Did
like
that let you realize, and you also just as a family, how famous you guys are?
Absolutely.
Or when you
At that point,
when people
I knew,
start
like,
to
you gotta be
care about
careful.
stuff.
Absolutely.
Every move is being watched too, though.
Right. Another critique about the show was that a lot of the scenes were very fast-paced. There would be certain topics that would be brought up, and then the next thing you know, we're going to another scene. And then sometimes there would be like certain arguments that would happen, but you never really knew where they stemmed from, because it would be like a one-off thing. Like, they would mention a word and then somebody would get upset and then start to storm off, and then you would just go to the confessional and it would be like them venting about how they feel like the other sibling is this terrible person and is a spoiled brat and is bossy and this, that, and the third. But it's like, we don't even know how we got here. We don't even know what they did. Like, we're still lost. We're still confused.
What is going on? What do you mean? Why are you leaving? Because I feel like I have better stuff to do than to be here.
Nah, like,
What's more important than being with your family and
like,
friends?
we're here
I'm
together.
with y'all all the time. Let me, like, do my shit.
The party not even over yet. At least wait till it's over.
I don't feel like this shit is, like, popping, so I'ma leave.
But we can make it popping, like, you
Yeah, we don't need to be a lot of people here. I have better stuff to do with my day.
So you're picking something by else over us?
I'm not putting it over
another
you.
friend?
I'm putting it over this party.
Well, a team. It's all of us.
Yes, I showed my face. What do y'all want to do? Take a group picture so you can remember that I was here?
It's not over yet.
It don't have to be over for me. I can leave whenever the I want to leave. You represent us as a Westbrooks brand.
Okay.
So by you leaving, we look
leave.
bad as a team. We're a unit. They're mad because I'm leaving early. What's the problem? This party is the Westbrooks. It's all 5 of us. You're representing us. Y'all want me to take a picture in front of a Team Westbrooks sign and say, hey, all of Team Westbrooks is here at this pool party. Here's proof. Like, I can go if I want to go.
You can go.
Thank you. Damn. Indy and I were not trying to start anything with our sisters. It just so happened that the clothes that we picked out from the stylist happened to be white and not black.
Why are we not color scheming like the plan, though? I thought everybody was black. They dressed in all white, feeling godly.
I feel like it's bullshit that they wear white and then left us wearing black because we're sisters and we already agreed that we were all wearing the same color.
What? Everything up. But for some reason, they chose to go against the grain and want to wear their own color and be divas. Well, I think we're going to do good today. I think we got no choice. We got to. Just get your other sisters on board and we'll be all right.
And before you even get a chance to really understand what's going on, again, there's another scene, and then there's another one, and then there's another one. And similar to what we just mentioned, a lot of these situations don't really give a lot of detail. It doesn't really give a lot of context. So it's like, what was the point of even airing it at this point? Like, you know, you could have just kept that in a journal. And again, there were certain moments in the show where it was clear that certain situations were staged. So there's like one moment, I think it is available on YouTube. I think so. And I think it's like low-key viral. One of the storylines was that Brooke and her children moved in with Morgan until Brooke could find a new place for her and her kids. And basically they were starting to butt heads because, of course, like when you live in close quarters with somebody, after a certain amount of time, you do start to get kind of like worn down from their presence. And, you know, being that close in proximity with each other, it does start to get annoying. And keep in mind that at this time, I believe Brooke had 4? Hold on. No, I think she did have 4 kids. Yeah, she had like 3 or 4 kids. I forget how many she has now, because I don't want to lie and say she got 6, but I do remember she had got pregnant like twice. But yeah, so basically it was Brooke and her 4 to about 5-ish kids. And then eventually the infamous baby daddy gets out of jail. Guess who's living in that house as well? So it's a full house. It's a full house and it's a 1-story house. How many bedrooms? I have no idea. So yeah, of course, like that kind of makes something interesting because yeah, they're gonna butt heads because this is a lot going on. But one of the issues that Morgan apparently had was that she was like a neat freak and she liked for her stuff to be a certain way and for her house to be a certain level of cleanliness, and she felt as though Brooke was not doing her part in cleaning up after her kids or enforcing for her kids to clean up as much. So there comes a point in time where they address it. There's a scene where they address the cleanliness and they address like, hey, you know, respect my house, blah, blah, blah. And they literally get into a heated argument because Brooke left like 2 plates and a fork in the sink.
For me, I feel like when you clean, you wipe some things down, you feel like that's your clean. My clean and your clean are 2 separate things. So I feel like the reason why we're clashing heads right now in the house is because you like, oh, I clean this up, and I clean that up, and I'm like, that's not enough for me. I honestly feel like the problem is when you say, can you help me clean up? You go right to your room and do whatever you do in your room and don't tend to nothing else. So when I say, I mopped the floor, I swept the rugs, I cleaned the refrigerator out, I cleaned the microwave out. After I do, in my opinion, everything, there's nothing else I can help you with. It's 1 of me and 5 of your family. This whole shit came from your kids and your family. If I walked the floors, clean this, clean that, and you didn't do anything, I feel like you shouldn't say nothing but thank you. Your kids are in and out the house, true or false? Right. So I'm constantly, that's Alan's shoes, this is Maggie's things, they made bowls of cereal, cereal, that doesn't happen. You don't see me do it. When you live in a house full of people, you're gonna clean up after people you don't want to. What is this? Who washed those and put them up? That's not clean. What is this? Look what you're complaining about. What is this? Look what you're complaining about. It's not clean. It's dirty. The shit is dirty.
And again, like it's clearly staged. The anger is clearly like forced from Morgan. Like she's capable of doing that, and for all we know, it could have been, you know, she could have tapped into something that she was actually mad about that whole entire time. So it's very possible. You know, it's very possible that maybe like this had been an issue, but they just wanted to catch it on film. But that particular situation, people could tell that that was like doing too much and that was pushing it, because the way that Morgan was going off, you would have thought like, you know, like it was really like a mess. It was a few plates and some knives and forks in the sink, and she was going clean off. You know, again, like the average person could tell. The average person could tell that that was just like, that was just overkill. That was just doing too much. So that turned a lot of people in the audience off as well. Now, if you ask me, because you know I love running my mouth and I love having my own opinion, if you ask me, these are some things that I personally would have liked for the show to explore a little bit more, and I think it would have made the show a little bit more interesting. So for starters, I feel like they should have done a better job at showcasing each and every sibling's personality a little bit more. I can say that it was clear that there was an attempt, but it could have been better, because I feel like, again, with the staged situations, it was forced. Like, you definitely tried to up the ante a little bit and make people seem way worse than what they really were, or like way more like bigger than what they were. It was very weird. It was very odd. So yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. Another point, we should have explored Morgan's business a little bit more, because again, this has been going on for like some years. Morgan has always been a business owner. She's always been self-employed. Morgan has owned, like, I don't even know how many businesses at this point. She's done some of everything. I feel like looking into her as an entrepreneur, her as like this biker girly a little bit better, definitely would have made good television. 100% would have made good television. Getting her origin story about becoming Mommy Is Tatted, because again, like, she low-key had her own platform before Crystal in India. Like, exploring things of that nature, that would have been way interesting as well. Pops, I mean, that whole situation, like, you know, I understand certain things, yes, keep it in the family, but I feel like, you know, the situation involving Pops and the dad, I think that should have been explored a little bit well, because if it was a situation where we weren't going to talk about it and keep it under wraps, I don't think that it should have been mentioned at all that the dad and Pops had fell out once upon a time, and that's why Pops was distant. You could have just not said anything. Like, again, certain things, you could have just kept it in a journal. If you wasn't going to talk about it, don't mention it. You know, it could have just been, hey, this is my big brother, but he doesn't like being in the spotlight. Boom, we're done. Boom, we're done. You know? But you brought it up. Now I want to know what happened. Now I'm nosy. Now I want to know, like, what did they fall out about? How long ago did this happen? What's going on? Like, I want to know. I want to know. The people want to know. That would have made interesting TV as well. Another thing too, I could definitely tell that this show was made for people that were already fans of India as well as the Westbrooks sisters, because they never really fully explored India's rise to fame. It's like, of course they had their little introductions, but again, everything just seemed to be like glossed over and fast paced. It didn't really seem as though like they were really trying to, you know, make a connection with the audience. I feel like they should have expanded on each individual a little bit better, talk about their come-ups in the industry, specifically India, since I guess, like, you know, India was essentially the selling point. She was essentially the Kim Kardashian, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that should have been pushed a little bit more, but they didn't do that either. It was just, yeah, I have followers on Instagram, and it's like, so to the regular average person, you just got a random bitch off Instagram and gave her a reality show, and like, you know, like, that was kind of a bad move. We should have handled that a little bit better as well. And lastly, in the mini series that was on like YouTube and stuff, I feel like we got to see Brie way more, but in this official reality TV show, we rarely got to see her. Now, there was a storyline about like the dude that she had met and like how they were like madly in love with each other, and he was gonna, like, you know, propose to her and stuff like that, and it was cute. But again, it's like, why? I don't know if it's just, maybe it's me, I don't know. I don't think it is, but like, it feels like Brie got pushed into the background a little bit and everybody else was highlighted but Brie. And again, like, Brie is a whole model. So it's like, why aren't we going on journeys with her as a plus size model? Why aren't we talking about, you know, in the mini series, she had mentioned how she was really insecure in her body and she was thinking about weight loss surgery and getting lipo and all this other stuff. Explore her journey with embracing herself and self-love. Like, why was that not in the show? Why was that not a storyline that was pushed? Like, I don't know. I feel like BET just really dropped the ball with that show. I feel like it could have been executed way way better than what it was. You know, I tried to be a fan of it because I'm a fan of India. I'm a fan of the whole family. But like, no. It wasn't all that. It really wasn't all that. It wasn't good. It should have been handled way better. So, surprise to no one, after 10 episodes, which made up the first season of #TheWestbrooks, the show got canceled. And it never came back on. And that was the end of it. So, yeah. Also, it's not on BET Plus, which that tripped me out. I'm like, how? Okay, anyways, yeah. Anyways, so in present day, what is India Love up to now? So India is still very much in her bag. She still does a lot of brand deals, make music video cameos, become brand ambassadors for various different brands, and as of recently, she has joined the OF community. She also went on to work with will.i.am as one of his brand ambassadors for his I Am Plus button earbuds, but he would eventually convince India to pursue music. This would cause India to release 5 songs, one of them being her most famous song called #Pretty. This would also be a short-lived career choice since she wasn't the musical type, but it definitely did give her a little bit more attention again after the fail of her reality show and getting hacked again. She would also go on to make an appearance on reality TV again by starring in College Hill Celebrity Edition that is streaming on the BET Plus app. As of today, she attempted to start a YouTube channel but hasn't uploaded in a while. But you can find her on TV again acting in a show called A La Carte on Amazon Prime. And in a lot of her most recent interviews, you can see that she's opening up a little bit more and showcasing a very personal, intimate side of herself. Also, as of recently, it has been a little bit more talk amongst the family that they might try reality TV again, possibly with a different network, but we're not 100% sure. But let me know in the comments down below if you guys would be interested in them giving reality TV one more try. Now, this is a video about India, but in case you guys were wondering about the rest of the Westbrooks sisters and siblings, Morgan had her first baby as of recently. Brooke had another baby as well as made an attempt to start YouTube. Bree also had another baby, and even with her weight loss, she still pursues and embraces being a plus-size model. Crystal would go on to graduate from Texas Southern University in 2016, making her the first in her family to get a college degree, and she starred in a series on YouTube called Dorm Over, where she redecorates people's dorm room. And of course, as of today, she still does modeling and social media influencing. And as for Blake, Blake is starting to make a name for himself by starting his own clothing line and recently attempting to start his own YouTube series as well that showcases his life as being the younger brother of the famous Westbrooks sisters. So ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened to India Love. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like this video. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on whatever, whether it's about India, whether it's about the Westbrooks, whether it's about the reality show. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and of course, share if you can. So with that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Impossible.